Okay, so we're gonna just wait just a couple of minutes for some people coming in, but I want to do a quick intro on just how this is gonna work. Um, we have Aaron's gonna introduce himself here in a second because I think he can do that better than I can. But if you have any questions throughout, if you ask any questions, you're free to unmute your microphones. What I would ask is try to mute your microphone if you are not saying something, just so we don't get any loud noises or anything like that going on. Or if you're not comfortable asking questions out loud with your face showing, then you can also use the chat window. I'm going to monitor the chat window this whole time, and occasionally, Aaron, I will stop you and say, hey, we have some questions. Um, and yeah, cool. I'm going to pass it over to you, Aaron. Go ahead.
All right, children of the internet, children of the lockdown. I'm so locked down back here. I haven't worn pants all summer long, and we are here in Portland, Oregon. Good collective spirit, concerned about each other, wearing masks when you go outside. The restaurants are closed. Where I'm from in Michigan, these dipshits are concerned. You know, these assholes couldn't defend themselves from a cheeseburger, much less tyranny. And they're concerned about wearing their masks, so they can all go to hell. But out here in Oregon, they're, it's pretty weird. I work in my backyard, which I designed that, you know what I mean? Like I designed that situation, and it's been pretty flawless, and pretty weird. So I just hope you guys are all okay and you're home and you're safe and you are, curious. And when you go out, we take Mr. Wilson's example here and, mask that shit up and, go out there and just breathe all over your own deal. So today's going to be weird. And I just, want to thank all of you guys for doing this because I haven't gone on the road this whole time, and that's okay. I've done it for a lot of years, and have had, many privileges from that. So it's been a weird break. So I'm a little rusty how I can share this stuff. And this is a new thing. The idea that if we were all sitting in a room together, which, and the last one we would have done was we did a bunch of them in January in Florida. Lee and I went down there with Mama Sauce and we did a little tour. I can see how you react. I can see how people stop and start, and I can see you might need a little bit of help, because I'm sitting right there with you. This is different. So I think it's a mixture of just me doing some stuff, showing you some things, and then if you want to try it in the real time, cool. But I don't know if we can do something, together and work through this. So what I'm going to try to do is I have 10 tips and tricks, right? And it's going to turn into 43, I'm pretty sure. But at least 10 are things that I've shared publicly, right? Just some little Illustrator stuff. Does everyone, maybe, I don't know how we do this quickly. Show of hands, everyone understands Illustrator? Okay, you're right. Okay, good. Because, the idea is if you don't, I get nervous. But, I work 95% of my life in Illustrator. Couple percent in Photoshop anymore, and then do email, right? And that's just everything I do. So it'll primarily be inside, Illustrator and maybe a couple things in Photoshop. But yeah, so how about we try one? Because here's to break these things down. I know we're at 4:06 already or 7:06 or whatever. We're supposed to do an hour and a half. But check it out. I don't have anything else to do. We're not going dancing, drinking, fighting, screwing, nothing tonight. We're just locked down. And tomorrow is the Sabbath, so I got to really genuflect. But if we go over the 2 hours, I don't care. So if someone has to go, I know you're going door to door virtually to raise money for Joe Biden. Me too. And if you got to go do that at, in a couple hours, then go do it. Then go do it. Good. And then, I'll go overtime as much as anyone needs here. Okay. Whatever. We're going to try to break this into two, so next week we come back. There's going to be a kind of an assignment towards the end of here, but I kind of need to see what we're capable of sharing here. You know what I mean? Like how that might work. If that all sounds okay, I'll try to get into this for you guys, and let's just kind of see what happens. If anything gets weird, do your, get Matt's, he is the kind of MC of this thing. If anything gets weird, then you let him know, and then I'll stop and review. But really what these things are, they're just kind of crusty little things that I do. And the reason I like to share this stuff is because people wouldn't share stuff with me when I was a young kid like all of you. You know what I mean? It was this weird thing where artists and designers were really defensive, and they didn't, I don't know how to say it. Like, what's interesting in the web community, my buddies who make websites and code things, it's a different world. First of all, they're really open to like helping each other. At least that's what I've seen. Like you go on some of their Twitter feeds, and they're like showing tips and tricks to each other just to get someone through a project. That's always impressed me. But web people just in general will just stab you right in the face, just in general. How do you tell when a web developer's lying? You look real close to see if their lips are moving. And if they're moving, they're lying. So this is all science that we're talking about here. But in design, everyone holds this stuff close. And now we're in this kind of world, and it's going to get even weirder with all this lockdown, where there's all these things you can download. There's, oh God, I need like a big barbarian's gate to go on and off the record, Matt, so I could say, boom, now we're off the record. Off the record, you animals. All these podcasts and shit trying to sell you how to believe in yourself out of whatever hole. Devin Hunt is in financial misery. And I don't care how many podcasts he listened to, you can't podcast yourself out of that shit unless you get jobs and make money. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's terrifying. This is still off the record. It's terrifying to me, the certitude out there, the certitude of like, you listen to us, your profits are going to go up. Don't charge $2,000 for a logo, charge 500 grand. Like, who the fuck? Someone, let me find some. Annabella, you need to keep track of all the F-bombs. You seem like you could, okay? Because for every F-bomb, I give you $1 in DDC merch credit. So it's just terrifying to me that people, there's ways of doing this stuff, and it's like, I just want to show these things without it requiring a download, without it requiring you to listen to me for 6 months in a row, every day in and day out. So all the workshops I've done in the last 3, 4, 5 years have just been in the spirit of like, hey, here's something I learned. Someone showed me this. Here it is. So if that makes sense, that's just to kind of frame up, kind of how I think about this. So, okay, let's try to take you guys over to let's see here. How am I going to do this one? So, okay, let me see if this is going to work. What screen is that? That's the other screen. Sorry. I guess I got to be in this screen. Okay. Take you over to my screen. Can everyone hear me okay? Everything cool? All right. Okay. Look how amazing. Never have to leave the house ever again. Ever. Just one big recycling situation. Okay, here we go. So here's my screen. Okay, can you guys see that? Little blast of color here. Okay, so there's some logos. All right. So here is sort of the breakdown for today, and what we're going to try to do. So if you want to do a screen grab of that, cool, because the assignment will sort of ask you to sort of utilize these things, right? But let's just get right into it and let's see what happens, okay? So it's weird just talking to a flat screen, it's just kind of weird. So let's just see how this works. Now, what this one here is called, it's called the center flip trick, okay? And what this is here is, when I'm working on designs, okay, now this is all off the record, no tweets, no, get it off your speak and spell, get it off your Gullenbosky. Don't put this up on your TikTok, Tinder, any of that shit, nothing, okay? because this is, I just put this up, you guys. By the way, this is going to be 9 hours if I just continue at this rate. Where this Minghua, a windstorm blew the sign down. So go on my Instagram and just pretend you're getting a big takeout thing of fried rice, delicious, life-giving fried rice from this place, and donate $10 to help this guy get his sign back up. Look how beautiful that thing is. I don't know who she is, but the neon is looking pretty good. So this is my life here. This is the things. Yesterday, Factory Floor Fridays, crusty one, clean one. But first little tip is people always say, how do you make your Instagram stuff? I build it in Photoshop. There it is. This is stuff that's going to be coming pretty soon here, right? So these are little things you can see here. That you'll hear me crying about this in a couple days. But if you close these things up, there's old Minghua, right? And other little things. I build it in Photoshop so I can control the experience, right? But if I was to go and show you, things I'm working on or whatever that is, let me see here. Let me see. Where could I go in progress to show you? Like, okay, if I draw something, anything for that matter, and I'm using, let's just say I'm just going to draw just a something. I don't know what that is just yet. Let's just see what happens. Now, if you want to try to follow along and draw your own thing, totally cool, because here's just this little thing. Now, what I want you to think about is precisely this. If I want one of these things on the other side of this, like let's just say, let me see, how would I do this to show maximum performance here for you guys? Can you see? If I flip this thing, now if I want this thing to go butt right up against this, and I'm going to give this thing just a little bit different so you can see this thing okay. Now, if I want this piece to just be flipped over here, now there's ways of doing it. But the problem is, if you just do what I'm going to do right here, Command C, Command F, lifts up above, let's give it a different color. We bring this thing over to here, we flip it, and then we try to line this thing back up. The problem is I'm always going too fast, and I might not line it up. It might be a little off. It might be, if you really go in and you look at it, and you go into 64,000%, some little something is off. Here's how I try to trick this when I know something's going to be symmetrical. I do a couple extra steps and check this out. First thing I do is I make a center line, okay? A center line. And what this is going to be, just color it anything for that matter so you can see it, okay? So you make this center line. Now this thing is aligned to the edge of this thing, or anything for that matter. So we can even just put it right here for now. So I make this center line, and then what I do is I go and I make any sort of a box or another line off of this center by holding Option. And now by holding that Option, I aligned it with that line and I make a box. Let's just say a box so we can see what we're working with here. I'll give it a different color. Now check it out. There's this green, right? So what you've got is you've got a box, any old box, and it's just got to be longer than however far your graphic goes out. If your graphic goes out to there, the box has to be longer to compensate. Now watch, we'll just leave it here because the idea is this thing now, if we bring it in a guide, this little guide, the box is longer than where the graphic goes right here, right? Okay, so just check this out. We'll bring it a little bit bigger. Now watch this. The thinking is simply this. Now in the properties window, there's one less click inside the properties window, and I'll do a screen grab so you guys can see it, because I don't know if you can see. Can you see my properties window? I guess you can, right? Okay, you can. Okay, I've been using this little flip along horizontal axis a ton because it's one less click. It's all about speed, right? So watch this. Now, if I want this thing to go to this other side over here, all I have to do is Command C, Command F. That means it's just resting on top of the other one. Command C, Command F. I grab the green bar, flip it, and that is perfectly on the other side now, right? So the idea is, now if I go and I add a couple elements, so let's just say I go and add a couple little zim-zams and doodads in there, and we want to make sure that we're gonna reflect these things later on in this side. Well, you would grab that, Command C, Command F, grab that bar again, and it puts it perfectly on the other side. Now, to get this thing, let's back out a little bit. let's just say I want these things to touch perfectly. Well, then you use the, you use the machine. You align that to that. Command C, Command F. Use this little guy. And now, let me go take a look at that thing. That thing is perfectly mathematically touching each other, touching up against each other, and then perfectly sheared. Now, listen, there's new tools you can download that require things that do this kind of stuff. Like my buddy Hydro 74. He does a lot of this, like one axis. He draws it on one side and flips it over. I don't know his technique, but this is how I do it. Now, where this comes to play, if I go back out here and let me just see here, what would be something I would have worked on? Fender Meteora. You can see here, here's the poster. And the idea was when I was tuning up these little, meteors coming flying in, obviously this isn't asymmetrical, but, you can see where it's all about this parallel universe. At least this half is exactly this half over here, right? So you can see it just flips over to the other kind of weird parallel universe. I would tune something over here. I had one big bar on the bottom, and I would Command C, Command F, paste in place, flip it over, and that's how I tuned this thing when I was getting, ready to go build the screen print, right? So that's where this thing comes into play for me, like constantly. There's other ways to do it. You can do it with target clicks and all this shit, but I don't know how to do that. I've tried to read the books. This is a bomb-proof, quick, fail-safe way. So that's kind of trick number one. So now let me back out here. Let me just gonna be talking for hours here and just get a look at everybody. Did that make sense? That little tip? Kind of, okay, all right, okay. The idea with all these things, how do we make things precise with speed? That's it. And the funny part about Illustrator that we forget, I can't do that in my field notes. I just can't do that. When I'm sitting here drawing, here is me drawing Hannibal Buress. This is a funny guy. When I'm sitting here drawing, I signed an NDA about a foot thick. I'm just going to show this for a second. It's all being recorded, right? Now, listen, off the record, this isn't going to be public, right? Vijay, it's not. Okay, it's not. Okay.
No, it's just for people that have a ticket.
Okay, good. Because here's me sketching, and I'm free on the paper, and this world is different than when I get into Illustrator, it's purely technical. Yes, I design and make things, but it really is what I can't do on the paper. You know what I mean? So these funny little kind of hacks about how to use the machine in interesting ways, that's exactly what I want to show you. Because is the word fallibility, like humans are dirty. Humans click things, move things, get all freaked out, push shit around. But the problem is, if we rely on our own half-assed technical savvy, that's why you get these, like, just take a look at, okay, here I'm going back. Take a look at my desktop. Okay, look at this thing. I mean, how do we do it? How do we go? Okay. Like, I don't screw around. Like, I keep my desktop clean because this is like, at the end of the day, I clean it off. I clean it back off because I don't want it to be this thing that's like messing with me. And my girlfriend, she's not here to defend herself. By the way, she snores like a chainsaw. She's not here to defend herself, but she can light that neighborhood up. And she's not here to defend herself, but you ought to see her screen, her like homepage. It is just trash with files because the machines allow us to do that. They allow us to do that. So when I'm working in Illustrator, this is precisely about how quick I can get in and get out and have more time to sketch here and then go back in and build tight things, right? Like, I don't want to be messing around with cleaning up files after I'm done. So that's kind of that's why I would show you this. Okay, let's get back into number 2 here. Let's go back to the center of a star. Okay, now this is a tricky one, but the thinking is precisely this. Okay. So the thinking is like, you know, we forget these things because if I was to go draw a star in my field notes, just draw a star and it's all worth a shit, you know, I know. Now that's fine for me to get my idea figured out. But Illustrator allows us to do this, you know, it allows us to do, you're coming off a center, you know, we can't, and that thing is pitch perfect. But the problem is, and here's where I got to go off the record, and you got to promise me that you'll never, where'd it go? Where'd it go? You know, there's so many apps and windows. Could you see that, or did I even have the screen on?
You're not sharing screen right now.
Shit. So here, sometimes I was kicking my ass or something. Yeah, great. Well, this is a learning process. Hour 1 of 9 starts now. So, you know, here's the deal. Fallibility. If I try to draw a star, I can't get it. I can get it kind of close, whatever. But we're allowed to do this. We're allowed to make this star perfectly, okay? But the problem, now I got to go back off because I got to tell the story. Where I'm from in northern Michigan, my mom had these wonderful next door neighbors, we'll just say, you know, people in the neighborhood. And one guy, and then he goes, and we just got our kitchen done. And he shows me his kitchen, and the kitchen's got all that, what is that? Here I go pissing off everybody. That country shabby chic shit, live, laugh, love, and all that all over everything. I'm sorry if that sounds offensive, but they got this big mural painted on the wall that says something like, just drink coffee and your life will be complete, or whatever stupid thing this thing fucking says. And I see it, but I noticed this star. Now I got to go back. Because someone painted it on the wall because they're country strong and they got some kind of star motif. They're country strong. These assholes haven't been outside ever. Anywho, now we go back to the screen. Okay, but I noticed this. The star inside a circle. It's all wonky. So watch. Okay. Now what I notice is this. Do you see what's happening there? It was centered like this. It was centered. And because someone took 2 pieces and did this, grabbed the circle and grabbed the star and centered it, check how low it is there. See it? Check the space there. That's different than here. Because what it's doing, it's taking this area. It's taking this area, which is the machine's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's taking this area and it's centering these 2 with each other. But that is not the center of the star. And story over. This dipshit can have this stupid thing painted on their wall they want. Like they went and defiled all the edges of all the counters so it looked kind of country. You know, whatever they do. Fine. But he's stuck with this. And it really made me think, it's like, how do you get to the center of a star? Because it's not just the star, it's understanding the principle of this. So here we go. So I'm going to make a star so we can see what we're messing with here. So here is this star. I'm going to give it a pink outline. Now what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to that perfect center. Now check it out. If this is tricky, if you go to one of these hexagons, it's easy. That dot, that is that center because that's equidistant there, 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 there. Now, if you go to one of these 7 sides, it's the same. It's the same. But the problem is when you get to a star or anything where it starts getting a little weird, the center, if we put a guide on this thing, it's back to where that box was, right? So you can see here, if you can see that little thing, that's the center. No, the center is going to be somewhere down in here. So here's how you find it, okay? So what you do is you use the computer, you use the machine, all right? So here's a blue bar, or line. Now if we start these things from anywhere here, now watch what I'm doing. I'm going to make sure that you can just go and center these things because that's a known. The star is centered with the line, right? We center it, That's a known. Now do it again. Now at all times, grab these things and dupe it, right? So you want an extra part, an extra blue line. Now you grab these two right here. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that this thing is just sort of like, now watch what we're doing here. You want to grab all this junk right here, and you want to make sure that this thing right now, it's centered inside. You want to just get it inside the radius, the general radius of this thing. There it is, right? So it's inside there. Group those two. Spin this thing 72 degrees or negative 72. There it is. And do it again. Grab these two, and now you're going to center these two. Now what you're doing is you're centering the group pieces behind it and this line, because where that line goes across, and now watch. Where that line crosses past with that other line, that is the perfect center of this thing. So now what that means is if you go and jump on this thing with a circle and it snaps to that thing, hold your option down and bring it out. That thing is equidistantly centered. So if we go and check it out now, you know, we update our country strong motif that says something about, I don't know, you know, footsteps in the sand or some shit, whatever it was. That thing is centered now. So now what I want is I just want to make sure that I have a version of this somewhere where this thing is touching perfectly on each one of those points. And how you do that simply is you would just grab these two pieces, you know, so there's our first centered version of it, at least inside a larger radius. You grab these again, you bring them out, and then what you do is you want to make a line from simply here, where it snaps in that center, see it? Into this edge right here. Hold down your shift, it'll stop on that edge, give it a different color. And now, the known, that's the radius of that thing, right? Now, if you go and you make that thing 200% bigger, or just double it in size, sorry. Okay, that is the radius of what you want your circle to be, right? So when you cut and paste this radius right here, so let's find it, that is 2.8049, and make a circle with it. Now, the known knowns, you grab one of these and you grab that circle and you true them up, and then you center them up and then you align it to the top, and we go check our math. You can get rid of that middle one here. Go to Command Y to outline. Oh yeah. Who is this? Okay, you guys you're gonna, it's Barack Obama, everybody. Looking for a little bit of advice. Hold on. It's my nephew looking to start trouble. He's 9. He's 10. He's gonna call back. He'll call back. He's got a lot of time on his hands, on lockdown. So let's see here. How do I just quit? I don't even know how that works. How do I just quit that? How do I quit that? Because this is screwing up the whole. Okay, so you see this? God damn it. It's not going to work because we're on this thing. Okay, he's just going to keep calling back. And call, okay. How do I just get out of FaceTime? Let me see here, sorry.
Hey, in the meantime, does anybody have any questions about anything?
Sorry.
That's totally cool, man.
Let me just tell him. Hold on.
Yeah,
It's
you
going to
go
come. It's coming in a second now. Call back in 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Okay. So back to this thing. So you see what we got there? That thing now is touching perfectly. So the idea is you're using the math in interesting ways. You're using the math because, check it out. What I've built for myself to build a logo is I've built these little symbols and stuff now where you've got those radiuses inside there. And as a part of this thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a bunch of this shit up for Matt. He's going to give these to you guys. You've got these things to play with. So like there is, using the center point of a triangle, or you know, like you're kind of like, you know, what is that? Like you're kind of like, you know, the pentagram kind of deal. Because the idea is, you know, I don't want to have to keep doing this every time. So I make it a symbol, you know, and then I can just drag it out of there, expand it, and then get to work, you know, working on whatever I'm making. So I'll show you something of where this came into play, you know, at least for when I was working on these things. Let's see here. I've got some new merch coming, and it's some tricky stuff, but it's just a weird time to like show any stars or bars. I mean, there are unmarked vehicles in downtown Portland whipping, you know, people off the streets tonight. It's terrifying, and I don't I don't want this to represent my stupid uncle, you know, who whatever, you know. But these little stars and stuff, that's how I build this stuff. You know, that's how I build these things. It's off a simple axis, and I love America. And yet, when I show these things, I get chewed up from both ends of the angle, you know, and it's both sides, and it's weird. You know, when I make these things, I've had this hat sitting on ice for years because I'm just disgusted in America. And you know, it's like I don't know. It's just a weird thing. But you know, all these pieces are built really simple ways. So back to where we were at there. So does that make sense, all you guys? You know, the idea of how you're using the machine and simple aligning and to get to a weird little point in space. Because the problem is when I get a file back from a contemporary, a colleague, a constituent, oftentimes if I look at where those points meet, they are not meeting. They eyeballed it. And that's what I'm trying to show is like, it's not just finding the center of the star. It's how to use what you could never do in here. That's it, you know? So that's kind of the thinking there, because using the known knowns, you can clean up your file beautifully, right? So that's kind of why I'm trying to walk you guys through. Okay, show of hands. Is this interesting? You know, it's a couple hands, kind of doing a couple half hover. Couple hands, kind of halfway there. Okay.
Hey, I
So,
think Amy
you
had a
have a
question. Amy, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, maybe if we have time to go over that again, that was a lot of math for me.
So like I said, we're gonna have this recorded, and I'm gonna have it
Okay.
up there like really soon. And
Cool. So now
also,
this is on the permanent record. Great.
yeah,
And
for
check it
sure.
out. I also have a PDF with all this shit lined up.
Okay.
I know I'm going fast. That's not, you know, I don't want to just like, you know, listen, if we try to do a project together, your nephew Oliver's going to be calling you and everything's going to get all screwed up like it always does. Okay. And it's like, I just, I want to inject things into you guys, you know, these little time savers, and then see where that goes. Okay. So, all right. So let's go back. The orbit. Ooh, this is a serious one. All right. Let's see if this, how we can do this thing. Okay. So you guys can see my screen, right? Someone give me an audible. Yes?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Sorry. You know, all right. Let me see here. Okay. Go to meeting. There I am. God. All right. Get the face of a pit bull. I know.
We got it now.
Okay. Now we're back. Okay. The orbit. Now this one is pretty cool because it uses the math of nature, let's just say. Like I can try in my, you know, you guys see the viral video of the guy who could just make a perfect circle, you know, that guy who just whips it around. It's awesome. All the kids are screaming and shit, you know, I don't know, some kind of Salt Bay or whatever the hell kind of moment, you know, whatever that is. Look at me just trying here and just trashing these things, you know. Okay. Well, what the machine allows us to do is to make a perfect circle, right? So, you know, using it that way, it's just this idea of like, now check this out. This right here, you know, it's just when you hold down Shift Option Command, it holds it in that place. I lift up the command, you know, okay, Shift Option Command. So that thing is a perfect circle made to whatever spec you want it. Okay, I'll make it 3 by 3. Okay. Now, what's cool about this thing is when you're using the math of this circle in a certain way, it's just sort of like, you you know, if I'm going to make a watch, so, okay, if you go, I got to make a watch, you know, they sold out. Holy shit, this is not supposed to happen. But when I built the watch, I built it, if you can see that, the little nicks and ticks inside there, I built it simply like what I'm going to do right now. So when you're using this thing, this circle, in an interesting way, it's kind of like this. Now, if you were to go make something, and let's just say we want the nicks and the ticks, right? There it is. So here's one. We're going to beef it up so we can see what we're messing with. And then we're going to do a secondary little guy. Like, how do you get that perfect one over there? Well, there's a couple ways. You could go bring another one over here like this, but now it's not quite centered with the rest of this stuff, right?
I don't think you're not sharing your screen right now.
Sorry. Okay, I'll start over. See, sorry, you guys. Already into overtime. Okay, here we go. So when you grab this circle, can you see it now? When you make this circle, there it is. Now, if we want to make the nicks and the ticks of the watch, so if we go back here and we go into the files, and we go into Timex, and we go into, let's see, the Scout, and then we get into what I was actually building. I built the watch right down to everything, right? So when you go back and you take a look, you know, there's a little back piece, there's a little graphic, you know, you mock up what the little band looks like and stuff, but check it out. To go and start to build this thing, this is what they gave me. They gave me this little template, but it's got another graphic from another watch, right? So I want to make my own. So the idea is this: I used to build watches. This is where I learned this. I used to make watches for Nixon watches back in the day. Now, if we're going to start drawing these little nicks and ticks, now watch what happens here. If I'm going to go make a nick, you know, let's say here's the 12 o'clock, and then I want one at 6 o'clock. Now, my first instinct is just to grab this thing and whip it down here, but that's not the right thinking. So instead, check it out. I'm going to use what you call an orbit. Now I'll make this one blue, so we'll call this the outside of the watch. I'm going to bring another one out here, just to, you know, we'll call it a 1/2 inch off of there. I'm going to make that one blue. I'll lighten it up a little bit so you can see that's the orbit one. There you go. That's kind of cool. So we got, you know, a little bit of. Okay, now check it out. Because what you're doing now, you're using the math. Now watch this. You're using the circle's properties. If you boil every one of us down in there, we all have cell structure. You go past that, you get all this quantum level shit, but it's all little dots and energy and the simplicity of a circle, you know, how it works together in nature. It's real. So check it out. To make these little nicks and ticks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to think about it just a little bit differently. To get one down to 6 o'clock, I'm going to grab the outer, and I'm just going to simply do this. Rotate tool, double click it, 180%. Now what that does, that just took it down. It used the orbit. Now with that in slow motion, what that did was did this. It's just spinning it along that orbit. Now to show what that looks like, I'll go and make one here. Command C, Command F. I'll color this one pink, and I'm going to grab this little thing here, and I'm going to spin this thing. Because see what you're doing here? You know, why isn't that? Come on now. Okay. You're spinning it along the orbit's axis, right? So if we think about the math involved here, and we go back to that 0 degrees, and now we grab the parts, and we think about the math. If we go, if we want 12 divided by 360 is 30 degrees. You grab the outer, you grab the first 12 nick, you grab the outer orbit, rotate it 30 degrees, copy, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D, all the way around. And now you have perfectly equidistant little nicks and ticks all the way around. Now, if I want to make the minute marks, right? So we'll color those orange. Command C, Command F, it lifts it up above, sits there. Let's just go split the difference, and we'll put it right to half of that other normal side of the black one. Okay, now check it out. Now, if we grab the orbit, there it is, and we go, well, what is, 6 degrees? That puts one perfectly at that 59-second mark. And we do it again, grab the orbit, and go copy. That just made our, now check it out. If you grab these little guys right here, bring them down in size a little bit, Command G, group those, grab the 4 as a group, grab the orbit, double click the rotate tool, and now go 12 degrees or 30 degrees to make 12. See? Bam. Command D, 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 Command D. And now you have perfectly equidistant nicks and ticks. And the thinking here is, because you're now, what's weird now is if you go grab this thing and you start to push these things around, there's probably going to be 30 of these things out there, right? Because you just keep on duping those. So what you want to do is you want to just, get rid of those two. You grab all of them at once, hit shift, click it one time, that leaves one there, and then you're back to your, at least one sitting there, right? Because where this is beautiful is, let's just say, you're making anything for that matter, you're making anything. We're going to make a cool little sun. I make suns all the time, right? And for me to go and just to think in terms of using the orbit, and I just go here and I say, okay, let's just go make a cool little sun. Let's just go as fast as we can.
Hey, Aaron, one question real quick.
Yeah.
Karen asked, why do you need to grab the orbit?
Because what you're doing is you're using it, you're using the outer boundary of the circle. In essence, it could be a square, but that gets tricky if that thing goes to 12% or 12.2%, because then you get a weirdness of the square where the outer edges go. You're using the perfect round fluid quality of a perfect circle to create this orbit. Now check this out. If I try to do it just even like this, now watch. I bring one down here. Now watch what happens. And I eyeball it, and I start spinning these things 30 degrees. It's not centered inside there. See what I'm saying? It's a little high right now. So if you go back to this and you start over again, and let's just say, okay, here's this first one. Anywhere we start that thing, and if we click the outer rim and now do it, 30 degrees, copy. Those are equally centered all the way around. Now, what's cool about this now is, now if you take these little pieces out of here, and once again, you're using the orbit. You're using the orbit to shrink and make things bigger. Check it out. If you grab these little pieces inside here, it's going to grab all those little things. I'm just going to get rid of this, the other, let's say 11. But now since these things are all equidistant, what that allows me to do is stuff like this. Like, check it out. Right now, because we have a nice round edge in the top here, or excuse me, a nice flat edge in the top here, that means if we go and start to scale this thing down without the orbit, it'll scale down on that perfect center. But check it out. If you went, and let's grab the orbit so we know we're still centered inside there. If you went and spun that thing inside this thing, let's just say 15 degrees. Double click that rotate, 15 degrees. There it goes. Now watch this. This is different, because this point is off of this point. Now see what you're grabbing here? It's not the same. I mean, what I'm saying is, if we go and we try to, and this thing is some wonky thing, let's just say this thing does this, and we try to go and take this thing and scale it down right now, it's going to scale off the full size. Watch what happens. It's going towards the top, because that little bit of wonkiness right there, that throws it all off. If we want to scale that thing perfectly with inside the orbit, you grab the orbit, and now you're scaling the circle. Watch. Perfectly down. See what I'm saying? So the idea here is, what you're doing is you're using the math. You're using the math, and you're using the principle of that thing, because where that thing comes in is, now that I have this thing here, those are all equidistant inside there. I can get in there and tune them up and do cool things, bring them up big, bring them up small, but they're all on the proper axis together, right? And if I make a change like this and say, all right, because I understand what you're saying, but let's just check it out. If this wasn't 12 and it was, whatever the hell, 11, let's just say it was 17 sided dice or something, and you click on one of these things like, where's my little calculator here? And we go 360 divided by, let's just get a weird number, 7. and that's your math, 51.42. That means there's going to be a flat side on one of the sides. That's where it gets tricky. So you're using this thing in an interesting way, because check it out. When you do stuff like this, when you make a piece of type inside there, and you put some type along the side, along it, right? So let's see here. Now check it out. Now, if you guys have experienced this, I'm gonna try to get this thing centered in here. Like, this is different for me every time I touch this tool. It's different. I'm just having to eyeball it, because, you know, depending on where the thing goes, there it is, it's centered now. Okay. But check it out. If I go and I put another one anywhere, let's just say right here. Now I'm just gonna scale this thing down and hold Option. Now that might be off the center point, but you're gonna see it in graphics. You're gonna see where the things aren't, they're just a little wobbly. For instance, if you go to here and you say Command C, Command F, and we bring one out to the, you know, because we want something along the bottom, and we bring it out, you know, you're relying on the machine, but after a while, it'll start taking a big piece of type and a little piece of type, and those things won't be aligned. And when you start to spin this stuff, you'll notice that they're just not aligned. So when you're using the orbit, you know the thing is perfectly pushing around, right? And you're scaling properly. See, the trick is, if you're out there and you know this thing is not a piece of type anymore, it's just outlined, and you want to scale that thing down, and you know you're doing a circular design, grab the outer rim, the orbit, and then scale with it, because that thing is perfectly along that axis. Because then what that allows me to do is go like this, hold Option, scale it down, check it out. Grab the 2, scale it, hold Option, so you're duping it, hold the Command and Shift down, and then it allows me, when you get to there, to say, well, I want to be a little bit this way. But all these pieces now are perfectly, because you're using that orbit perfectly inside there, perfectly centered among themselves. And you see what I'm saying as you go down. Now, you know, you got to go do a little bit of housekeeping, and clean out all this other junk out of there, because you continue to dupe those things. But the thing is, using this principled attack, this is how people build watches. This is how people build these mandalas and stuff. Or like, a guy to go look up is a guy named Andy Gilmore. Let me go look him up and I'll show you. When he builds these beautiful geometric doodads, he's building it with these structures in place, you know, to build something like this, which is a really intense thing. But the idea is, he's tricking it. And it's all with the quickness of just duping and math. He's only working in this quadrant right here, flipping something and then going beep, 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 12, 11 more times or whatever it is. So you'll see patterns in his math. And it's just beautiful. If you know how to use these things, this stuff isn't all that complex to get to this stuff. I mean, I look at these things and I get all tripped out. It's all fractally and weird. Remember fractals in the early 90s? Posters and shit? God, tough crowd, huh? Jeez, you guys, tough crowd. I mean, you know, I don't have any good jokes. I don't know, you know.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. You know, moderator's always nice. So if that makes sense, and I don't know if it does. I don't know if it does. How about we pull back for a second here? And who's got a question? It could be anything. Let's just see what happens. Who's got a question? Archie? Stapleton? I recognize some of these names, man. All right. Sean Brown, what do you got?
Can you, I missed for a second there. The orbit tool in general, where is that on it? Because I've never used that tool before. Can you just like start from the very beginning and just show us where you started bringing that tool up?
Sure. The rotate tool?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
You were calling it the orbit tool. That's, I think, what threw me off a little bit.
Sorry?
You were calling it the orbit tool, so I think that's what was throwing me off.
Well, it's the rotate. at all times. That's the rotate. I mean, that's the tool inside of Illustrator. I just call it the orbit because the thinking is little satellites, at a perfect distance above Earth, and they're whizzing around, and you're using the math. Here's how I use the orbit, okay? Which is the trickiest sort of stuff, but it's not when you understand. Can you see my screen?
No.
Okay, sorry. Now check this out. I showed you that one design, problematic, patriotic bullshit, all screwed up with like Lee Greenwood, and we're gonna drop bombs on America and all that shit, whatever it is. I don't like that stuff. But when I look at a flag, I think of my mom and dad saying, "We came here in 1895, Aaron, from Poland, whatever it was, and your little buddy down the street, so did his parents, whatever, all the way down the line, whatever." And now look what we got. So okay, now we're back. Okay, all right. So now check it out. When I show those designs, and I'm gonna go pick my little, my little orbit here. I've got my little pieces already built. So when I make something, now I know where this little circle here is like, it's if I'm using this thing as my orbit, I'm gonna make a little star. I don't know if you guys saw the stamp I did for the patriotic star, little thing called America, little experiment. Let me see if I can find it here. Star ribbon. I got to make this for America. Cried my eyes out when it came out. There's the patch version. But I got to make a stamp for America about a year and a half ago now, year and 3 months ago. And this is, they made 30 million for the first run, and they're sold out. And now you can get them in either 1,500 or 5,000. 5,000 costs $5,500, right? So they're gone. But you can still get them on eBay and shit from all the collectors. But I got to make a stamp for America, and the thinking is simply this. And guess who got in trouble when I was at a big design conference and said, and this is for the good old boys because they deserve good stamps too, and all my liberal buddies that I tend to be one of, whatever you want to call it. But I got in trouble, like I always do, because I was showing how I built this thing and explaining how this is a perfect, stamps are a democratization of design. Everyone gets to use a stamp. Whatever side of the coin you're on, this isn't just for me and all my, us fruity liberals up here in Portland, Oregon. No, it's for everybody who needs a stamp at a fair price. And I was proud to contribute to that, right? As a graphic designer. So when I build these things, now check it out. I'm gonna make some little hoo-ha up in here, right? Whatever you want to call it. So let me just try to make a little quick design. I'll show you where the orbit comes in and is awesome. Here's a design. Here's a little flip or a little flag or something, I don't know, and a little whatever. Okay, there it is. And now we're gonna go, and this is gonna be a little, we'll make this thing, sort of red. Now there's a something, and then I want a little something happening up here. Maybe it's just a little one of these little guys, like a little, a little flap of a flag or something. I don't know. Let me connect that piece right there. Color it blue. Now what I'm getting at is when I'm building these things, all I'm doing is this. I'm building the parts in one of the 5 quadrants. I'm grabbing those 3 parts right here. I'm grabbing the orbit and going 72 degrees. Copy, Command D, Command D, Command D, Command D. And what that's doing, that's allowing me to have perfect spaced things, right? All the way around. So it's no different if you're making, remember, a star is asymmetrical in its nature. And what that allowed me to do is when you go and click on that thing, those things are perfectly aligned inside there. You do it one time, dupe it 4 more times using the orbit in the 72 degrees, and you've got that thing around. So that's the thinking here of how to use these things. If you make, whatever choice you're making for your design, you're using the math to get you there. And that's what's interesting to me. I forget to do it, So when you go look at these things out in my world or whatever, the things I have it tattooed on my side of my leg, the bicentennial star from 76 to 1976. When you go and rebuild this thing, you can rebuild this thing quickly now understanding the principles of what we've been talking about. This took me a long time to rebuild when I was 15 years ago, because I wasn't doing it that way. I was eyeballing shit, and whatever I was doing, it just wasn't precise. But I got there, because now when I'm lucky to make a stamp, I showed 40 different stamps for my first submission, and the guy got all freaked out because all these artists who worked for him before for the USPS, they don't show 40 versions. I went fucking crazy, showed 42 versions or something, and they picked 7. And the second one is supposed to come out, and I'm not even supposed to talk about it. They picked 7. I was hoping to get 1. And I started to cry when I was up in Breckenridge when I got the thing. And the woman was either going to climb over the thing and hug me or call security. It was one or the other. She was all nervous. And I was just like, I got to make a stamp for America. I'm here. It was the first day it came out. And we were in Breckenridge talking. And we went in between my talks and went and picked it up. And I started to cry. I could cry right now. Watch this. No, I'm not going to do it. Okay. Anyone else have a question here? Off the record, anything? We're already in hour 1's done. Yes, Christopher.
I had a question about the orbit. So I noticed that you were using like the rotate to like while you're doing your flag frame. Do you trust the number that's like often displayed on screen, or do you trust like the menu on the side?
You know, I use the stuff on screen very little. So I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, if you're typing it in, I trust that. If that makes sense. I don't know if that's making sense. Yes, there are ways, just remember, I'm lucky. I know I'm lucky to go know all these Illustrator developers and all this shit all these years later, but you have to understand something. That shit is in one ear and out the next. When I'm high as hell, I get to meet all these dudes from India once a year at Adobe Max, and I was told, side story, Aaron, you're not supposed to grab them because culturally you just don't want to make any fast moves and just don't grab them. And when I see Anubhav now, he sits on my lap and we hug each other and we're like family now. So whatever the fuck that means, we were hugging each other and fist bumping and high fiving and shit and drinking beers and getting all hammered up and behind the scenes at Adobe Max. And when they tell me this stuff, they show me that you can do the same thing I just showed just by punching in key commands and numbers, because that's like a user accessibility thing. So the idea is when you go back all the way back to what they designed that thing for, like if you don't have a mouse, there are ways you can do that, but that's not the way I work. You know what I mean? It's like, so I don't know if I'm answering that right for you, Chris or Christopher. I don't know. But see, what's interesting about the orbit, you're using the purity of that circle to do the dirty work inside, if that makes sense, right? And that's kind of the idea, and that first center flip, you can do that with the circle also. But the idea with the circle is if you want to make things go around, they don't have to all be equidistant multiples of 12. If you just did spurs that went 3 this way times 36.25%, you can flip it real quick and have it on the other side using the center thing, or use the math and go around the other way. You're using the orbit. And see, but beyond that, it's just the centering quality and the scaling quality and the purity of this perfect circle. Because if you click your mouse one little smidge off to the center of that and then start to scale, it will scale off that off center. Does that make sense, you guys? When you use that thing, see, when I'm doing this stuff, like when I made the stamp, it was terrifying because they sent it back to me and I didn't know they used my pre-production file to like sell up to the Postmaster General, and you could see split lines inside the PDF. Does that make sense? Like when even though you have a line, okay, Amy, you know what I'm talking about. The lines come together like this perfectly, and then you can see the split line. That's where this shit comes into play. I had to go, I was like, do not hand them that PDF. Hand them, look at, they made a little button out of it and shit, aside from the stamp. So I went back in there like a surgeon and built it precisely the way I showed you guys, using math, if that makes sense. Why, I would like to share this is because right now in the time we're in, and this isn't COVID or any of this thing, style-wise, everyone's doing everything. It's no different 20 years ago when I was Devin's age or whatever the hell. You know, I'm 46 now. You know, my hair hurts. The hell's that mean? Well, 46 years old, you know, this is, I know the pressure of the style wars. I know the pressure. Because if someone here, maybe show of hands, maybe someone here is a fan of Dana Tamagotchi. I'm a fan of Dana, you know. Maybe someone out there is a fan of Jessica Hish. I'm a fan of Hish. Maybe someone out there is a fan of, you know, Clark Orr, you know. And, you know, we're in this weird time where, like, I'm trying to be one of those guys too. And I got a bunch of bearded assholes who are gaining weight trying to be me. You ought to see those guys every year at Adobe Max. They look, it's like central casting for trolls and like, you know, orcs and shit. It's weird, man. These lumberjack central casting, you know. Oh God, trying to grow beards. The only reason I grow a beard is I don't like to shave. That's it. There's no, I get invited in Portland here to be in these like Portland's greatest beards center, and nope, you know, oil and all this shit. Okay, moving right along. Does anyone have a question? Jack, come on, Jack, what do you got?
So wait, so you don't use beard oil?
I don't. When someone gave me one, and I was, you know, I do the whole thing like this, and you know, they didn't see me have my finger, and I went, not bad. And the guy was like, you can't drink that, Draplin. I don't put that stuff. It gets all greasy and shit. I don't do that. That's why are we getting personal? You guys ought to see my back. It is just the hair and all the fur and shit. So, okay, Jack, Jake knows this whole rattle. We're going into overtime already. Jack, what do you got?
I got just a simple question. How do you on your Illustrator file not have any artboards? Like it's like an infinite artboard. How do you get that? Because I'm always working on like the dark gray and it pisses me off.
Okay, check it out. Let's walk through some of that because that's what I would hope we could answer for you guys. Aside from me trying to, you're gonna get a PDF of all this, you guys, just so you know, okay? And hopefully that'll help. Okay, let's go back to that. Let me go back to my little thing here. Okay. So how you do this? If I'm picking up what the way I have it is like this. There's my artboard, and I've got this. So check it out. Go under here. This one's Jack. Go under preferences. I'm pretty sure it's been a while. General. Go down to user interface, and now click around a little bit, right? So right now I've got canvas color matches. You know, I have it as white. I'm going to click the one off, match user preference. See? So go click that off, man. Go to white, and now you have a white. But see, I think it's like 120 by 120 or something. You know, the actual size of how big it'll go. But yeah, that's how you do it. So if you wanted, you know, a really dark, there's that. You know, that's just all your tools and stuff. If you go to the, you know, there's your gray for that's just too bright. You know. So I'll keep mine right there. That's the one I know. And then you just do this one, canvas color to white. Does that answer that for you, Jake? Give me an audible.
Yes, thank you.
Attaboy. Look at that. We're cooking with gas. All right. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, you guys? Because listen, I'll go as long as you want. We'll get weird. We can do. Okay, everyone. Keep your shit together. I'm going up the food chain to Miss Vanderlinden. What can I do for you?
Okay, so when you're designing and you're iterating and you're being creative, it just seems like you kind of get lost, or I get lost in it, and then all of a sudden I left the math in the other room and I don't know how to rebuild it, and then I'm effed.
I understand. If I can answer this the right way, and it's very nerdy, but let me show you. I don't know if I can show you. Okay, can I get an oath of silence here that you guys are not going to vote for Trump in the fall? Okay, thanks. Sign the dotted line. Attaboy, Christopher. I like you. All right. So, can you believe this shit? Matt, I told you I wasn't going to say nothing about that Cheeto, but I screwed it up. So, Annabella, fuck that guy. Now we're up to 2 F-bombs. Okay, moving right along.
That's at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Looks like we got 5 F-bombs
Thank you.
so far.
What was the question again? Okay,
Okay.
I'm going to show you guys something, but you can't say anything. You can't say anything, please, because before I show it, I know I'm very political. I know I put my foot in my mouth, but I really need to tell you it's because I'm scared. And when I get in front of a lot of people, I say some dumb shit. You know where my heart is, whatever. It's a tricky time, but yet I work on things that people would flip out. Because in Portland, Oregon, it's so all the way to the left. I understand, but remember, that's 25 Antifa anarchists who were setting shit on fire in Seattle 25 years ago. Now they're my age, and they're doing that tonight in Portland, you know? And that makes it rough. It's no different than some dipshit with his big monster truck and a gun on his chest at Walmart. That's no different. There's all the way to the edge. Well, we have both of that here. But yet, when I work on things, I am a graphic designer, and you bet your ass I would never work for some turd Republican. But I did work for Wesley Clark, who was right in the middle. We're talking right in the middle, you know, General Wesley Clark. He went 51.2%, 1% to the Democrat, whatever. But he was in the middle back when we were sensible, you know, and I worked for him. But yet, you guys know where my heart is politically, whatever. But when I show you what I'm about to show you right now, you know, to answer your question, I'll get there in about an hour and a half. But so the idea is this, you know, is when I'm cooking, I know what you mean, Karen. Before you know it, you've iterated yourself off into a corner. I will go back, pick the most profound moment from that hour, pull it down below and redo it and check it out. I'll find errors I made and I make notes. So for instance, it's like if I'm doing the orbit, it would say something to the effect of centering within the orbit at 30-degree increments. Arrow, again, tuning up the first little nick and tick only of these two. And I'll put like, I just tell the story because the idea is when the client sees it, if, you know, that woman I was working with the cybersecurity, they would come back and be like, it's just a little thin. Can you thicken it up? Or the other way, can you thin it out? If I have to go back and grab those pieces, I don't know where I'm at. And then I'm going off it. But what I did with that, somewhere in those files, I had a like origin or whatever, like a little baby one. Here is the little spermatozoa, whatever the hell it is. It starts there, and then I can go off in any direction and then thicken, thin, and see the lineage right next to it. So here's the idea, you guys. When you're, this is a tip. She kind of beat me to it. If you guys have heard me talk about this shit before, I understand. Iterate, iterate, iterate. If you guys have seen the skill shares, this is redundant. I apologize. I've only got so many tricks. But the idea is this: when you're pounding through, I know, right? Well, I don't know if I have notes, but watch. Okay, we're going back. So how do I put this lightly? I'm the size of like a muskox, okay? And it's not, you know, Matt's had lunch right next to me. Jake's been around me. It's not fun. You know, it's a lot of smells and chafe and just all sorts of shit. And it's just bad. And I've been working out. I lost a couple ounces in my ear. But when you go and you look at these things, and you can see how I am making decisions, like starting here. I'm iterating at all times until I get up to this and I start to like it. And then I have to go tear that thing out of there to make whatever it was. But here is for Karen, build a castle fortress around it. Sugar Gradual's trying to get in because we cut out all the sugar. Oh God, this house is like, you know, the movie The Road. That's what it's like eating here. You know, I just think I'm in the road when I wake up, and now I'm gonna have like a supermarket grocery cart with 2 working wheels scraping around the house trying to find something to eat. That's what it's like here. You know, if I have to eat one more sad little Parmesan crisp that wasn't even fried, it was just air baked, I'm gonna kill myself, but I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so Sugar Gradual's getting in. We've cut it all out. And I made this graphic to just kind of like, I don't know, think about this stuff, you know, and you can, there's my crusty little type out of my brain. Just, I couldn't, and I'm trying to make some type for it. I don't know, you know, because I want that to match the little, see the little sugar granules getting in. I'm constantly iterating. This is where, okay, this is where I know where I like the graphic, because I put it on the home page. That's my little way of knowing, like, that's where it ended up. That's where I liked it. And I'm on to the next damn thing. But yep, there's Aaron Draplin in the yellow line, big behemoth, Hagrid, and I'm trying to get down to Vojasic size. By the year 2046, I'll be down to the, okay, everyone just chill out. God, screaming, cheering. All right, let me see here. Okay, so did that answer that question for you, Karen? Okay, sort of. I know I'm going fast. Who's got another question? We're going into overtime. We got lots of time. People can drop off. We have to go protest or whatever you got to go do. You know, what do you got? Who's got something? Because I'll start calling on people, and that's when it gets weird. Nothing? I've got other tricks. Should I just keep going? Okay. Okay.
It looks like, wait a second. It looks like Chow has a question. He says his English is a bit rusty, but could you explain a little more about the presentation rounds? Chow, what do you, I think we need a little bit more clarification on that one.
Chow, are you from Brazil? Brazil. Millions of Brazilians, huh? Good. Well, yeah, attaboy. We're working on a Portuguese version just for you, my friend. I don't know. They did a span. Yes, hello, friends. I wish I was with you guys and we could, because you know what I do with the books? And you can't do this on a Zoom call. But let's just say Amy gives me her book and we're at the merch table and I go, you brought the book for me to sign it? And I go, let me spice it up a little bit. I'll go, and you know, whatever. And I go, you know, give it back. So can't really do that. You can't really do that little trick. You know, Lee is, did you just put that thing? You know, don't, honey. It's just an extra little bit of spice. But, you know, to try to unpack this for a second, every project's different. But I think if I had to say it, there's a philosophy to how I work. I don't like the idea of showing 4 things. I like the idea of ownership from the client right away. And what that means is it's sort of a funnel. So what I try to do is I try to work quick, technical, fast, and lethal to get a lot of stuff to show, refine it down, and then show little moves. So now check it out. Lots of little, we'll just call it an asterisk, like lots of little warnings. I'll say to these guys, you guys, this is my first round. We're just trying things. Frankly, there are certain things you guys sent me that I am nervous that have already been done in the world. There's no way this hasn't, but you're going to see those things kind of happen. We're just trying to figure out what feels right for our project. So that's the big part of the net. We're just throwing a bunch of stuff in at the top and we're going to see what happens, right? The idea is this. It's like, if I'm working for my buddy, I might show 4 pages because I'm in and I'm out. But what I explained to her at the start is I said, you're going to see a lot. And you guys, if you want 7 and 14, let's do it. Because what that gives them, it gives them instant ownership right away. It gives them, I want them making decisions along with me, because otherwise, yes, I can show what I think is appropriate, but if you don't let them help push you, you're never going to get it there fast enough. Does that make sense? You know, I don't work in a situation where I show up with a team of people and then we present, this is exactly what we're doing. That certitude is a little weird for me. You know what I mean? So I want them to feel like they have a part of it right away. And it's, frankly, this is what makes me sound horrible. It's a bit of a trick. It's a little bit of a trick. It's just getting them to feel like they're really helping push it along too. And that's a weird thing because, listen, this is not about us making cool shit just for our portfolios. You know what I mean? If I ask all you guys tonight, who here has had a logo trashed by a client? All the hands go up. Who here has had their heart broken by this shit? Hey, me too, you know, but you took the paycheck. You know what I mean? And it's not about that finished product sometimes. Sometimes it's just about getting the damn thing done. If you want awesome stuff for your portfolio that no one messed with, make your own little shit, little stickers and stuff. I mean, I made a rainbow patch. Now listen, this works for all my buddies in the LGBTQ, hell yeah, but it also works for 6-year-olds. That just like rainbows, you know? I like that too. Little patches and shit, you know, I'm a child of the Outsiders and, you know, little soupy harmonica solos and shit by Stevie Wonder. Oh, I love Stevie Wonder. But okay, we are officially in overtime, not afraid one bit. Who's sticking with me here? Is everyone having a good time?
Woo!
Okay, see, now, see, my Lee is a teacher, and she always says, don't do it the other way around where I say, who's not having a good time? Because then you isolate, you know, Chris Jarrett, who says, I hate your face, Draplin. And I don't want to isolate anyone. No, I'm just kidding. Chris, I'm your dad. How you doing? Okay, so, you know, who's got a question? Let's just get weird. Can you
We
see
got a
me?
couple. We got a couple in the chat here. It looks like Annabella. She asked, when you presented the 40 stamp designs and they picked 7, did you go back and refine all 7 of them?
The answer is only the first one and the second one, because it's this weird set of stages and steps and stuff. And remember, answer, you know, Annabella's question a little bit better. You know, it's terrifying because, to just be totally candid, I think he said something like for every 8 stamps they work on, 7 don't make it. So he was warning me ahead of time, like, we will push you right to the edge until it's ready to go. And then I'll call for you for your production time. Are you going to be okay with that? Like, you guys, I wouldn't have, he couldn't believe it when I said, all the money I'm going to make, what am I going to make? You know, give it to vets. He was like, what planet are you from? People yell at us because, you know, we're this, we're that. They say we're working out. He was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't give a shit. I want to help people. This is for America, the stamp. I'm serious. Because the problem is artists get all hurt when it gets stopped, started, paused, upside down, whatever. And then wait. At 11:59, they call the night before and say, go. That's the way it works. And my guy Greg out in Virginia said, are you up with that? And I said, do you know who you're fucking with? I'm not some scrub. Let's do it. This is my chance to work for America. So of course I was down for whatever. And you know, he calls me now. Every now and again, Greg will send me, don't say shit about this. He'll send me garbage and I'll tune it up. And then I send it back. And no one knows nothing. No one knows nothing. So that's some Mission Impossible ghost fart shit right there. Mission Impossible 12 ghost fart. You would never even know about it. That's some clandestine shit, because he knows I can get that shit tight as a just tight using math, lines, simple things, right? So I'm really proud of that. But you know, I will say that's the funnest part of the design. It's been approved, and now it's just a battle for me against the machine to make the perfect little thing to hand off. The perfect amount of points. You guys remember George Bush, war criminal, you know, all that, you know, didn't he get a pass, huh? Isn't he just breathing a sigh of relief the last couple of years, just working on his paintings and shit? He got a little bit of a pass. But remember the 1,000 points of light his dad would talk about, or whatever that was? Well, we have jokes about 1,000 point of light files, because you open that shit up and there's 1,000,000 points on that thing, and it's the 1,000 points of light file. You can't hand that stuff off. For everything that is live trace, right? You got to be careful with that shit, because the problem is when someone tries to embroider it, then you're in trouble, and it won't process it or something, or it comes out scraggly or whatever. So, you know, when I had this place built, my little, you know, record shelves here, I just told those guys, I said, whatever your estimate is to build those things, Just give me, I mean, you lied about everything else here, you contractors. Give me 2 more days with that one. Take your time. Because frankly, I'm going to be looking at that thing all day long. I'm not going to be up in the beams hanging off of shit, you know, looking at the craftsmanship there. I'm going to be looking right down here at muskox level. And, you know, they did. They just took their time. And that's sort of the same thing. What do people see when they crack open your file? They're looking at how things match and points and things. So let me show you guys this little tip and trick right now, which is part of our little syllabus here. We're just staying right on this. We're just following the rules here. Like, how much shit have I already said that is just completely litigious? Probably 7 things. I don't know. Hope we don't have any lawyers here, you know, keeping score. Now check it out. When people see stuff like this, one of the questions I get a lot in my you know, live workshops back before the world ended or whatever the hell it's going on is, how do you do the colors with this stuff? How do you know, I had one kid ask one time, and then it got put on some site. I get asked every time. So I got a little bit of a bit with it, but check it out. It's all about math. So how I do this, once again, without us being fallible creatures and screwing everything up, it's really, really simple. But if I want to get this thing from here to here, now I know there are little things you can do to blend and stuff. You know, if you want that to be from yellow up to red, but the trick is it's different. So that, I know you can do these, you can grab these two and blend the steps or whatever it does. I don't trust that, because if you have some odd number or a weird shape, you're going to start getting, you know, like, how do I, let me pull this over here. What I like about this right here, 0, 0, can you guys see that okay? But 0, 0, 100, 0. It's nice, simple math. And the idea that when you do this kind of shit, and you click right here, and it says 13.7.2.9.999, that kind of garbage, you're just asking for trouble later on, right? Now, if that's the color you want, it's this little off yellow, then fine, live by it. But right now it says 12.99, 7.25, 98. That's just kind of gross. The way I would do that right away is I would just round up and make nice numbers. 13, 7. It's not going to be all that much of a different change in color. 100, because that just makes it a little bit easier to process later on, right? So instead of us using eyedroppers and shit, which is very problematic, you'll never hit that eyedropper in the same spot again. You know what I mean? So use the numbers and understand what's happening here. So watch. Now, if we go back to this yellow and we just go back and say C0, M0, Y100, K0. Watch. The way I would do this, I would think about it in terms of math. If I want to get it up to that red, we'll get there, but use the math. Let's go 15 points magenta, 30 points magenta. We keep on going, 45. And now we're going to keep on going, Command D, up to 60, and then make a couple leaps to like 75. And now what we're doing is we are precisely stair-stepping that shit. That's 85. You know, if you do 90, it gets a little too orangey. But check it out. Now when we get to that red, and we say 0, 100, 100, and you back off, that was built with math. Does that make sense, you guys? It's really, really simple. Because then if we go and say, you know what, we only have 5 stripes. All right, let's do it again. Start with your base level. Bring it over, 5 stripes. Let's add 20 points. Do it again, up to 40. Do it again, up to 60. See where I'm going with this? We're using good, simple math. It's geometric, and it's logical. But here's why it's important. It's not necessarily, I mean, the beauty of that is you're using math to build perfect, you know, raise it, just to raise, perfect. Oh, I'm tired. But it's not necessarily even just the math of it. It's the idea that when you hand the file off, it's logical. Because if someone has to rebuild with that stuff and they're using it in a certain way, like this, like some kid today who said, dude, Ford Bronco's ripping you off. Oh, they're not. No, they're not. Let me see if I can find it. Ford Bronco's ripping you off, Draplin. Oh, whatever. I get a lot of these calls, and they're always weird. But then I saw something where I was like, oh, well, maybe they are. I don't know where it went. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. It just was like, oh man, if that's that's the best they could do with Bronco. I was all excited to see the new Broncos, and then they made all this kind of shitty merch and stuff. I don't know where it went, but there's this one with thick lines or something, and I don't know if it's inspired by me. I don't care. But it was like, I looked even closer, their math was off. And then I was all pissed off, and I just got to find better things to get mad at, like poverty and shit. I get mad about that too. But here's the deal. So much of what I make, I get to control it. But that's not real life. When you hand these things off, I want you to hand off your files with as much elegance as when you get that paycheck. I get that paycheck and I start licking it and eating it and fucking cashing it and playing with it and wiping it on things. I go crazy. But up until that point, they wouldn't even know I'm a gorilla on the phone. They wouldn't even know. They wouldn't know. Because the way I talk about it, the way I handle myself on the phone, the emails saying thank you, all this sort of, business acumen, they wouldn't even know that shit. The files are tight. The files are logical. The colors are logical. They match up with Pantones and they work well. For instance, since I already let the cat out of the bag out of that one project I wasn't supposed to say shit about. Well, let me see. Let me show you what it looks like when I get serious. Hold on. Can you guys see the screen? I need it. No. So, that's what I've just come to understand. We are humans and we get lost in being hurt about projects, and they made us go this way and they made us go that way, and now we're bummed and we're not thinking about the handoff as clearly as we should. And that's what we really need to be elegant with, is like, I want you guys to make tight files so when that stuff leaves your hands and you get your paycheck and you go nuts, that your output is just elegant. It's tight and it's, it makes sense. So, it's a tricky thing, but that's really what I'm trying to do, because I know that I'm going to screw it up just being the animal that I am. But if I can only speak by, how tight my files are, that's really important to me, because people will chew you up otherwise. Like I said, like that shit with my buddy Greg, who sends me these little files and he's like, this is just embarrassing. Do you know how to solve this? And it's like, I love those puzzles because I was trained to do that stuff. That's not really cool, or not really, I don't like the word sexy, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just not very cool. It's not very fun, but it's important. And I think that we sort of glaze over that because we're all worried about who's got the most clicks and links and likes and all that shit. You know what I mean? Or who makes the most or who makes the least or whatever. There can be beautiful craft on the dumbest of graphic design too. And that's really important to me. For the stuff I make for friends that I don't make any money on, and I do those too much, we'll just say, but their files are beautiful. They wouldn't even know it, but it's a part and parcel with me just being able to work quick, if that makes sense. So, yeah, who's got a question? Well, we're in overtime now. See what happens here. Who's got a question? Jake.
All right, so I've been trying to get back to the roots of sketching and getting a lot of ideas out on paper. Once the computer gets involved, it's too easy. Like, I feel like making the jump digital happens too quickly. But when I look at your cybersecurity stuff, my question is, you've got so many iterations there. Did you have all those little ideas sketched out, or did you have like a few different shields and you're like, okay, I'm gonna click and drag and just see where it takes me?
Yeah.
Like, how do you kind of build all that?
Well, it's all about keeping things live. So we just did the math one. Let's talk about subtraction. Okay, so Now, everyone can hear me, but I want you to think about how you design a logo just a little bit differently. And what I'll show you guys here in my Amazon window, trying to find that Ford Bronco stuff. But I did a logo last year for Cole Headwear. Let me see if I can find it. All right, let's see, screen. But these are friends of mine. I used to work for these guys a lot of years ago, but you can see up there in the little corner right there, I made this little logo, I guess 2 summers ago now. And it's just starting to show up on like all the stuff. Like it's, you know, it's finally starting to happen. I made this mark in 2002. And that's the, you know, that's the original mark right there, 2002. But what they want is they wanted a little more of like a Nike swoosh, we'll just say. And they were terrified because for years they've been relying on just, you know, just the type. So I made this little guy right there. And I'm going to rebuild that right now for you really fast. Because if you did, that little guy looks like this. So let me close this guy down, and now check it out. Now, if we draw that thing and we're pretending here that we are drawing like in our little, you know, our little field notes. Now, to build that thing, you know, let's just pretend I'm sketching. And let's just say I do this, you know, and I nail it. Oh yeah, okay, no. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go like this next. Little sketch. Now that's a little divot right there. What's another thing you could do? There's a million things you could do, watch. But see, I'm more free on paper. I'm quicker on paper than I am dinking around, you know, in Illustrator. In Illustrator, it's gonna take me down sort of like, you know, predictable paths. And I'm susceptible to that like we all are, you know. And the idea is I'm just open to getting weird and trying some new shit. I don't know what that would even be. Maybe there's another little disconnect here or something. Like that's kind of cool. But the idea is this: if this was the one that we, you know, the sketch I liked, the way that I'm always thinking is this. I'm not messing around with just clicking like willy-nilly. You know what I'm saying? Like just kind of like this kind of shit where you're like just grab that little, you know, what is that, pen tool and just start, you know, Uncle Kevining this shit. Bam, bam, bam. I don't understand why this won't work, Aaron. I'm clicking around before you know he's just got this. Command Y. Command Y. Where'd it go? Command Y. And he's just got all this bullshit and garbage and you know, just think about it in a little bit more of a logical way. Because what the machine allows us to do is precisely this. It's very simple. When I was learning how to draw, you know, illustrators understand this. If you're going to go make a black line with your little Rapidograph pen, 1989 style, right? You're going to make a black line, and the black line went over, let's just say this is the border right here, right? And that's the little border where the line went over because you're like, I'm in like, you know, technical drawing class or whatever, 1989, and I went too long with my line over the little border. Here's how they taught you how to clean up that line. You would get some white ink and just simply put a little white box of white ink over it, right? Over the black line that you just made. And the idea is that illusion right there, the line stops there because you just put that line, that little bit of white ink over it. It's no different inside here. So the idea is if we're going to build this thing, now watch the thinking here. I'm going to design by subtraction. I'm going to grab another one of these guys here. I'm going to make it white. And I'm just going to go and lay it right over this stuff. See? You know, it doesn't have to be even a line to the bottom. The idea is what we're trying to do is we're trying to recreate this right here. And if you take this little piece right here and say, all right, there's this, and it lifts up above. It goes over like this, see? Now, wait, we got to get that right little point, the little point where it dips down. This thing's a little bit too big. There it is. Now this one, these are all just subtracting off each other. And we do it again with a white one right here. This is the most important thing I can show you guys in the day. Because now when we pull back from that and you kind of go, well, it's a little wonky, Draplin. Right. No, check it out. This is infinitely scalable. Because now when that thing's getting kind of close, you know, it's getting kind of close, like this one now, just to trick that one's, all it is, that's just 4 triangles. Now, if we bring them over here and we dupe it, and we want to make this more of a divot, just make it bigger. Or simply do this. Just move it a little bit. Because all you're doing, you're keeping all that shit live. You see what I'm saying? And that's a different way of thinking. So, you know, the idea that, like, you know, instead of drawing the wing, right? You know, when I would be flying all the time on the road, and they give you that little delta thing. You know, by the way, just so you guys know, I'm a frequent ass flyer, a million miler. Doesn't mean shit. I walk on that plane like I own it. Doesn't mean shit, but you know, let the guy have a little bit of a jolt, you know, right? When they give the little wings to the kids, I always get jealous. I want the wings too, you know? But when you make that stuff, here's the little gold. When they make that stuff, instead of drawing the wing like this, however you draw the wing, think about it in different terms, right? Go and just lay a little white bar over it to get that little break in the wing, the feather, the plume. And now space these out. And now what you can do is you can say, I want 5 plumes. Okay. Do it. And then space them out equidistantly and whatever you're doing. But the idea is you have this malleable little graphic at all times. Now to get the little wing shape, well, you got to go draw a little piece over that, white, overlay it. There's the wing starting to happen. If the wing's too long, move it in. See what I'm saying? And that's the beauty of this stuff. Because what we're trying to get at is that the Delta logo? I can't remember. There it is. I don't know. But now if we go put a center line on that shit, here we go. Put a little box down below it, longer than the design. Grab these pieces right here, Command C, Command F, grab this little box right here, touch your little, flip along horizontal axis, bam. That thing is equidistantly centered now, just that quick. And remember, all those are shapes overlaying shapes. Now later on, when we get to the final design, whatever the hell that is, then you can go back and start to like subtract those things and, you know, use your Pathfinder tool. But the idea is, if they came back to me tomorrow, I have my root parts at all times. So kind of to answer Jake's question, if you're thinking along the lines of building component wise, you can go make quick decisions with one little bit, as long as you have all the DNA, the orbit, the pieces, however you built the stuff. Does that make sense, you guys? You know, does that make, I don't know if, you know, I can't see you guys, you know, but the idea is this: I can't do that unless I have white ink and black ink and whatever the hell in my book. No, I have to nail it with the pencil sketch, you know? I have to nail it with the pencil sketch. Hold on, let me just, this big dumb Sharpie, watch. I gotta nail it. And it's tough because I gotta think in a certain way where it's like, you know, watch. Christopher. But see, the thing is, I'm not thinking the right way there. I'm trying to nail his profile. When you go build it the other way and you're designing by subtraction, I can suddenly make his shoulders slant, taller, shorter. I can make his glasses bigger, smaller. The idea is, when you're thinking through how to build these really simple forms, always keep the stuff live. They're never going to see this stuff. These are just, that's your recipe, you know? When you finally go and make the final thing, these are all round 1, 2, 3, and 4, you know, the files, right? So I'm really careful to keep track of that stuff. So if I do need to make a change, I can go back. Or when someone comes back and says, hey, we like your space shuttle, but we only want it in one color. It's like, sometimes my file is so tight, I have to go back to the root file to get all those original little bits and blabs and stuff, because then I can go and like properly make it one color. Does that make sense? Like that's where this stuff comes from. So the thinking is, if you train yourself to just not go after the, like for me to draw him like that, that's me being indulgent. I'm going to try to nail it. I'm going to try to sketch it. I'm going to try to nail it fast. That's not what illustrators should be. Illustrators should be more like malleable. You're not allowed to do that on paper. You get it somewhere close and you kind of go, and then you bring another one off to the side, stretch it out a little more, always equidistant, always with good math, always with nice orbits and nice centering lines and nice, symmetry. Check it out. If you're not a symmetrical design kind of person like I tend to be, these things still show up. Good craft is good craft, or how to get to somewhere quick. So here's just a little bit of a, there's a kind of an assignment I want to give you guys. I don't know. We can talk about that in a little bit, but check it out. Maybe for an assignment, go and rebuild something by subtraction. Just do it for the hell of it. Pick a logo out in the world. One of the main questions I get anywhere on the road, and when I do all these pep talks for these colleges and shit now with all these Zooms and stuff, how do I get better in Illustrator? I'm a little bit this, I'm a little bit, you're Draplin, listen, I learned new stuff. 1 year ago, I learned Command J. Connect points like a dumbass. I would find them and layer them and all this shit. No, you can grab 2 points. Look it, I'm gonna do it. This just sucks. This is embarrassing. This is about a year ago. Watch. Can you see this? Look at, oh God, the media, everything. Screens. Go watch. So I'm just clicking like a jerk now. And 1 year ago, whatever it was when Adobe was here, before Adobe Max, I would go like a dumbass and go grab this thing, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And the guy showed me, he goes, Draplin, you can just go like this and Command J and it'll connect perfectly. I just wanted to start to cry. I'm 46 years old, 672 pounds of just pure Midwestern beef and fart. And damn it, I learned another thing. I use it every day now, So when people say to me, how do I get better in this stuff? It's just like, go and look at something that's very familiar and just try to rebuild it. I had a kid, Annabelle, did I see you sucking on a can of Coke there? I'm not saying nothing. I'm not judging, but I'd give anything for just one little droplet of that morning dew, just gently, but I can't. I saw a kid take this, my bullshit, and make the Coca-Cola logo out of subtraction. And it was killer, because what it allowed him to do was learn how to work the lines in a different way. That's very, very intense, because first of all, you could just draw that thing, just kind of just start. But the thing is he was learning efficiencies along the way of how to dupe things. There's no reason to make that second O and the second C or whatever it was, and the next one, you just make it 2 times. And it was really cool to see. So that's one little assignment. If I could give you anything today, anything, just think a little bit differently how you're building stuff. That's all, because that's what Illustrator affords us as makers and logo designers and craftspeople. I don't know, I am so thankful to make what I get to make in Illustrator, like what I get to do for a living, and I'm so thankful to enjoy the process of trying to always get better too. When I go to my insurance salesman, that guy could give 2 shits less about getting done quicker each day. You know what I'm saying? He's got a golf shirt on, whatever, just already just counting down the minutes to die. We are designers and artists and people, and we can do stuff, it's like, and enjoy the work that we're doing. So the last 3 months, I've made a lot of COVID stuff, and it's all the same techniques, trying to help people, raising money, doing things, doing stuff. Same stuff I'm showing you guys now. I've done a lot of things for Black Lives Matter. stuff I can never, not necessarily their organization, just a lot of people writing me and saying, I got this idea, can you just tune it up for me? I would never put that on my Instagram. The stuff I put on my Instagram and take, it's amplifying voices, whatever you want to call it, I'm trying to do the right thing. And it's like, no one ever sees the stuff I've done for these little activists and shit who just want to make better signs, and make bigger things. Like they have an idea. I can't talk about that shit, but I've done a lot of that stuff because they've seen me talk or they've met me and they'll reach out and say, we can't afford a designer. Give me the file. Give me the file. I'll have it. Well, can we have it done within? You guys are going out marching tomorrow. Give me the file. I'll have it done tonight. I had this friend at a screen print shop come to me and say, are you guys going to go in March? I said, well, and she goes, because Aaron, there's a lot of running involved. It was just like, she was basically telling me I'm old and worth a shit. She's a little 22-year-old little punk rocker. And I was like, well, is there walking? Can I do it with walking? Can I go hold? I can hold thing. These are these little shits who are down there like ducking out of tear gas and shit. We're not doing that. We go when it's like baby day and shit. People are walking dogs and stuff. And then we say what we got to say. Okay, I'm getting political. Someone pull me out of it. Who's got a question? Who's got a question? Fun times in America. Sean's working in his garage, huh? That's pretty cool. I like it.
Real quick, we have 2 questions. Let me see here. Amy asks if you use a certain website or vendor to make stickers and patches.
I gotta be careful because, Lee will say, my girl Lee will say, like, one time at a WMAX, I said something about Sticker Mule because I don't like them. They don't last in the Portland rain. Maybe they do now, but 5 years ago they didn't. My stickers, I'm not bragging, they last on my little water bottle forever. But this is goopy ass chemical screen print ink on vinyl sticker. They're not cheap. They're no different than political stickers. They are the real deal, right? So when I make this stuff, it's hard to make. It's an extra step. They have yellow paper, yellow vinyl substrate with black ink. So I use a local vendor here. Where I got in trouble is because I was like, I don't like that stuff because, yeah, you can get it overnight. And it dawned on me in the moment. That's pretty cool. My guy takes 3 weeks. He's doing bong rips all day long, and he's just a pain in the ass. And, that's what you deal with when you're dealing with, I'm not going to say his name, Andy Stern over at Diesel Fuel Prints, but that's what you deal with. Everything smells like a big nug when you get it, and it sucks. But he does good work. And the thing is, if you're 23 years old, absolutely go use those things, but just understand the limitations. They're digitally printed. They work for laptop and below. So you can't be pissed. Amy is in Colorado. And right now in her town, someone's on the street corner protesting free range lettuce. I've been there. And on that water bottle, on that very nice person who's protesting, their sticker is going to look like shit 3 months from now. So you got, when you go to Colorado or like a mountain town and you see all the Subaru here in Portland, see all the action cars with these like tourist stickers, you can tell the Sticker Mule stuff, or you see the little sticker where it's the mom and the dad and the dog and the goldfish and the 3 ugly little kids named Michaela, Makana, and Michaela and Riley. Are there any Rileys here? I'm looking. Oh shit, I gotta quit that. That's a horrible joke. We don't have no Rileys today. Okay, good. We got a Mitch. That's cool. But when you go to Iowa, and you're going to Iowa and you get off the plane and you're getting in Iowa and you're off the plane and you get out of the airport and you get on the shuttle bus. And there's the mom with her 7 little kids and they're all named Michaela, Makana, and Riley. And the cute little one's named Riley every single time. There's other names in the world. There's other names. I've been working on a name for a new dog. I want to get a dog another dog. I had Gary before, the wiener dog, and contenders are Randy and Kenny. And it's a bit of a coin toss. And then a third wild card is Lousy. Just Lousy, get out of the trash, you know, that kind of shit. So we've been working it out. It's got to have a Y, so you can just go, oh, something profound. What's the next question?
The next question is, Erin, she asks, and this may be a long answer here, but she says, can you go over your process for creating the final logo files? How do you set up a file to export and send the final JPEGs, PNGs, etc.?
Yeah. Well, that was going to be a little bit more for next week, but I'll try to talk about it a little bit. It's just about clarity, if that makes sense. It's like just getting everything turned off around you. Does that make sense? You know, like, and also in the document. So next week, we're going to kind of go through that. The idea that whatever, you know, I'm going to try to give you guys an assignment. I want to kind of come up with something during this thing because I just didn't want to come into it and say, this is what we should do. So, you know, maybe the assignment is like, hey, make something using the 4 things I showed or one of them, and let's talk about it. Because really what I want to show is how to critique too. If I could be so bold and say, one of the greatest compliments I ever got for my time in school was this woman came up to me 10 years later and she said, you always talked about my work. And she was struggling with her designs back then. She said, you always spoke about my work in such a nice way, and other people would rip me to shit. And you always, because you know what? I watch these overpaid people do this stuff and just tear it apart. And where I'm coming back to this thing, it's like, I watched it with file prep too, you know, like only the production people can do this. I would go over their shoulders and watch. So a lot of it is just isolating the parts and the pieces. So there's nothing else in the document. For political reasons, what I mean by that is safety reasons, like making sure there's nothing else to like fetter up the handoff. So there's little tactics. We can talk about that more next week, but what I'll do is once I have it locked down in Illustrator, there's like 2 sides to this. I don't like to give out JPEGs, PSDs, PNGs, GIFs, gamma rays, dingleberries, any of that shit. I don't like doing it because it's too open to translation and interpretation. I would rather give them the most sound file and say, what's your list of needs? Oh, you guys need it for your website at this size? Turns out you might find that those list of needs is 7 things. And then let's just build it for those 7 and get them the best looking things. Because frankly, when you build it for your little Instagram avatar, it's a different feel than it would be on a sweatshirt, right? So I try to ask those questions. That's part of the process, not only with building the file, but really it's about cleaning everything up, having really logical files, and then saying to them, here is a high-res logo on a blank background for you guys to make PNGs or transparencies or whatever you need out of, but you have to hand that to your web developer. They might know a better way for what their application is. If you give them 72 kinds of files, you're gonna have more questions later on, if that makes sense. I mean, that's just my experience. You know what I mean? Like, it gets weird. So I try to keep it really base level, and then answer 1 or 2 questions later on when they need a JPEG. You know, because check it out. If you make a JPEG in the best, like today, I had to open an SVG file. I don't even know what that even means. Scalable vector graphic, is that what it is? Or something. I know. Well, Mitch knows. I don't know. I would never need that stuff. But I know you can open it up, you know, and then see, I only need an AI file. So even there, as a way to protect myself, I do it really rudimentary, you know, and just try to give them the base DNA. Because I've had it come back where they're like, we took your JPEG, which is like softball size at 300 DPI, and they put it on a banner, and it looks like shit, you know? And that's where it's like, I would rather have them come to me and be like, here's the file for the banner. Can you make us this banner? Yes, it's 2 hours of work, you know, and you can charge a little bit, and then they get it done right, and there's not 1,000 questions. A lot of what I'm trying to do in my life these days is just avoid the dreaded, like, did you get my email? Email, you know, did you not see us? We were all waiting for you. You thought you had your camera on and you didn't. Whatever, that kind of shit. Like, it's really just like ensuring that like I'm in and out of the project somewhat efficiently, if that makes sense. Only purely only for the sake of the client. It's not for sure my time. I don't want to waste time. You know what I mean? So sometimes less is more, and sometimes for file handoff it is too. But whoever asked the question, I would just ask the client, how they're going to need it, and then you might have to walk them through it a couple ways. So I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to be sort of concise, but is that helpful? I mean, is this, you guys, 2 hours into this thing? Is everyone all right? You guys was it interesting? Because next week we're getting real academic. No more screwing around and jokes about dog assholes. None of that. We're going to really get right into it. We're going to get right up into the cavity of graphic design and just really. Okay, who's got a question? Devin, come on. Let me. Who's been silent? Peter Larson's account. Peter.
We got a couple hands up here. Let's go to Mitch first.
Oh, Mitch. Yes, sorry. One second. Mitch. Yes.
We can't hear you, Mitch.
Oh, we can't hear you, Mitch. Maybe put it in the chat window, and we'll do the Peter Larson account. Any questions?
I guess I don't really have any questions. Just it's been very interesting learning your working process compared to what I was doing. No question.
It can be a little overwhelming too, to see what I do and how fast I go. But I would hope that even just the quality of iterating and trying multiple ones in the same document, just to see your lineage, making notes as you go, that's some pretty powerful stuff. I didn't really learn that until, I don't know, it's been 25 years for me with this stuff. And there were a lot of years there when I was in the wild. I was in the dark, I didn't know what I was doing. And it gets better every year. I mean, it's kind of weird because today I was talking to a buddy and he said, our lives are half over. It was like at 46, I was like, shit, man, I still want to be a Broadway dancer. I still want to be a cowboy. I want to get chaps, little fuzzy ones, and a lot of things I still want to do, and it's really terrifying to be like, what did I just do? Well, I worked, I lived, I got to travel a bunch and work and shit, but every year the process gets better. So I just hope that everyone who tuned into this thing, it was fun and weird, and there were a couple little goodies out of this thing, because frankly it's kind of hard to do. I mean, I could just sit and answer questions, and sometimes that's what I do for kids, these 22-year-olds in schools, and that can be fun too. But when my ass is on the line, I'm trying to show you guys ways to make things better or more finite or a little more precision. So if you have a question, if something was tricky, please hit up Matt and he'll come to me and I'll make sure we make it right for you guys. All right. And I'll provide some little PDFs that can walk you through some of this stuff too. But all right, we're in overtime. Mitch, are you ready? Oh shit.
Mitch, can you just type in the chat what your question is?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think Sean, I think you may have a question. Here, let's do this. Let's do one or two more questions, and then if you have any more questions, you'll be able to ask them next week. And real quick, I want to say, so like I said, this is recorded, and that recording will be in the folder that's on your ticket. There's a link. It's one of the newer versions of the ticket. Sorry about that. But I added a Dropbox link, and it's going to be in that folder, and it should be there within the next probably day or so. So you'll be able to review any of this stuff. And yeah, all right. So Sean, go ahead.
Thanks. Is there one thing that you've either seen, or like all the skill shares you've done, all your talks, your own career that's in Illustrator that you've seen other people not do, or you've discovered yourself that make you work more efficiently? Is there something that's popped up over your career or even recently where you've been able, it's helped you get from A to Z quicker and more efficiently?
Illustrator's pretty solved for me. Like I only use like 7 or 8 tools. Illustrator not so much, but one thing to add into Illustrator that is a complete game changer was a thing called Astute Graphics. Now listen, I don't work for them, but they are friends. Astute Graphics. Go look it up. They used to be $50. You get all the shit for the, you know, whatever. But, and I'll show you in a second. But Sean, this shit changed the way that I work. And it's weird. And I'm going to show you why in a second. But just to kind of set some like a little bit of like foundation, like I am really nervous about plugins because Adobe changes so much. And who here is experienced? You bought something 3 weeks ago, Adobe does their upgrade, and then you can't even get your new thing to work. You know what I mean? Whatever that is. Sometimes it's a typeface. I mean, whatever. So I can't have that shit going down when I'm in the heat, you know, and I'm trying to get it done. So I've been really careful about the whole plugin world until about 4 years ago. I was doing a talk in London, and I had a little bit of an intervention with these guys. We went out to lunch, and they said, just give our shit a try. You're really going to dig it. Here's what it does. So, okay, I'm going to go back over to, by the way, this is an hour answer. What were you going to go do tonight, Vijay? Who cares? You're going to the first Wendy's in America in Columbus. Oh, we got Wendy's. Yeah, we're home with the Super Bar. I don't care. Okay, look at Columbus. You know, what is it? You know, Columbus is, yeah, okay. All right, so, all right, let me see if I can find the thing. Is reviewing everyone, there goes screen. Okay, sorry. Okay, now check this out. This is awesome. So over here on my little Zimzam right here, these little tools right here. Now, if you are a pinball player, and let's just say you deal with these all the time, right? Check it out. And the little flipper, and you want this end to be this, and you want this end to be that, but that's not necessarily the simplest way to make it. That's really tricky because you better know what you're doing, if that makes sense. Now just check this out. If you were to go and do it precision wise and say, I want we'll call this one a 1.5 inch. There it is. And we're going to make another one that is a 1 inch. There it is. Okay. Oh, we're going to make another one that's a 1 inch. So the idea is one has a, you know, it's a 1.5 radius and the other one has a 1 point diameter. Okay, there it is. We're getting up to 1. There it is right there. Okay, whatever. Now check it out. If you want to make that shape, and it's this shape, all right, there's no way mathematically you can get from this point to this point by adding a line. You can try it 47 ways. You can wait till it goes. You're just not going to get it there. Now that's there, but if you go in and you really zoom in on this little point right here, you're going to see what I mean. See how it's off? Now, if you try to do it again, let's just try to do it again. Here we go. If you zoom into that shit right there, it's going to happen again. And not only did it change that one, it changed the other point 33,000%. That changed that angle over there. You see what I'm getting at? It's mathematically impossible using the tools Illustrator gives you. Now watch this shit. Astute Graphics, you load these tools in, you do the deal, you touch this one right here that's called Tangent Line Tool. Watch this. You hover over a line, it tells you where it's going to sort of start. Now watch. You get to another line, it just snaps it. That is mathematically perfect. From the line ends up over here. This is game changing. Because what this means, like, let me just turn this off for a second. What this means, like, you guys, has anyone ever heard of, it's really, I'm not trying to be gross or nothing, but like when there's a heart surgery and they have these special tools they make to lift open like the ribs and all that shit, that's a real thing. That's why heart surgeries cost like $250,000 and all this, because there's people designing these things based on someone's geometry. That is amazing. That's who's using these tools to build simpler, more elegant lines. These like fabricators building these special tools for a one-time, it all gets boiled down and used again. Isn't that amazing? They're using that shit. So listen, us worrying about making graphics about coffee and baby Yodas and shit, who cares about it? Although that baby Yoda is pretty cute. I gotta say, he's little eyes, little ears, he's pretty cute. You know, us making graphics about that bullshit, that's cake decoration. But people are using this thing in a really profound way. And that's what we're talking about here. This little doodad here of like, to do it again, you just click the little guy. This one is tangent line tool. You hover over one circle, click, and hover over the next one, anywhere on that circle. See, now it'll go to that line because now those two match from edge to edge, or that bottom line, there it is, bam. Now what you got to do, this is where it gets a little tricky. You got to go through now, and you got to use your little Pathfinder tool. And you got to use the little outline, and you outline it, and that just separated all the circle parts. You got to get rid of that little circle chunk over here. And you got to get rid of this little circle part, and then you got to go Command J those parts. It takes a couple steps, but after a while, you'll connect it, and you'll get the perfect one outer line of it. But see, that thing changed the way that precision-wise, right? Because then it wasn't an eyeball. It was actually using the geometry of how the thing worked. Now check it out. If you want to make a little sun off a circle, there's a thing here called, like, here's a little sun, we'll call this, you know, like, let's make a little thick line sun. Use our little tool dropper, real imprecise. And here's this, get some little bit of math in there so we can see what we're working with. We make a little quick sun. Now check it out. When you're working with this stuff like this, perpendicular line tool, doesn't matter where you start it, it's going to go perfectly perpendicular to whatever that arc is. See, watch, right there. Same way coming off of it. See this? That goes perfectly back to the center. See it right there? So if you want to make a little sun, just start and drag, and that's all off the center all the time. Now you can get random, you can get weird, but it's all perpendicular to whatever that arc is. Now what's cool about that is if you're making something a little bit weird and wonky like this, and you want to go off of that thing perpendicular, check it out. Whoops. Come and meet it, and it snaps it perfectly perpendicular to whatever little part of that you want. So what you can see is how people are using this to like get precise. And that's, you know, I think it's called Subscribe or something. You got to dig around a little bit, but they have like a monthly service now. It is worth every penny. I think I pay 15 or 20 bucks. I don't really care. They're buddies, but I don't mind buying it. You know, I just don't want to be to the point where they're like hitting me up to do Instagram posts and shit, because that gets weird. There's tons of shit they can do. Another one that they have, is everyone still following along? Like this one changed everything for me. So, I mean, it's just gross. I got to find someone fun here. Who haven't I messed with much right here? Let me find someone. Who haven't I messed with much? Let me see here. I'm fine. Emma, there you are, Emma. Emma, I'd like to request Smells Like Teen Spirit in the chord of C played on that little, right now. I want you to do it Jerry Lee Lewis style, kicking your feet. Okay, everyone just shut up. Sorry. Okay, now watch. Now this is a new one these guys have, and this shit is insane. So there's Emma, and let's go just do a little, let's get some fun little type in here. You know, okay, there's some little Emma type. You know, just 2 hours picking typefaces like a jerk. I know. Okay, everyone just, so, okay, we get this little type. Now check this shit out. This is insane. This is the last one. This is like a month ago. Convert it to outlines. Now, how do I get to it? Hold on. I don't even know the name of the damn thing. I had it here. Wait a second. Okay. So how do I show this? Okay, better way to show it is like this. My girlfriend Lee's got her little brand called Notes to Self. And I do all her graphics, and that girl's one lucky little dame to have me working on her shit, because then she could bring it to me, and these are all the graphics I make. I make little patches for her, open mind, and little things like this. Oh baby, and she makes little things like, shit like this, kiss off, ass face, fun stuff, and like this kind of stuff. She brings me a little sketch in her field notes, and then she says, I want to say, I suck, I'm sorry. I don't ask any questions, I build the shit for her. But the one that I just did, where it was like, I'm a jerk, and we did it, and it turned out so awesome. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, this one right here. But I had to go rebuild this little thing right here, right? I had to rebuild off of that point using the astute tool to get it to snap to this thing, and I had to build this thing. It took me an hour and a half, like a jerk. Then these guys come out with this. Look at this shit. So let's just say Emma likes, let's just pick a color. Okay, now this thing, it's the shadow maker perfectly. Now watch, mess with the angle. Let's go 120. That changed the angle. So I'm clicking up right now, and it's slowly changing as we're going around the thing. See how it's changing it? This thing is insane. And now if you want the little thing down there, and I say, well, I want it to be nice and long, or I want it to be nice and short. Let's go change the color. This has changed the way I can make shit now. Faster and fast. It's just amazing. And you can go and do the scale, so it goes off into a crazy distance. Or if we were to go like this, and then bring the scale down to like 50%, like a movie. I mean, it's just embarrassing. And this is something that, as part of their thing that you can get. And you can do a little gap between where the shadow starts, so you can get that little, my blood pressure's rising. But see, you guys, I didn't know this existed. And then I found out it existed, and it changed the way I work. So please go check out. I'm always very susceptible of this shit. I just don't want it to be this. I'll go take the time to do it the way I do it. And there's multiple other things that these guys have. But really, to answer your question, Shane, this changed everything for me. So you guys, like I would, I have to draw each one of those things, and to show you what that looked like, always and forever, look at. But look at this. I had to go build it somewhere, and it was a pain in the ass. I don't know where I did it, the first one or something. Maybe I got rid of it, but it was just, you have to go draw that thing. You have to drag one out below it, connect them, minus points, make points, little crap going on. You get the angle wrong, it's all wrong. And then she comes back and she goes, I think I want it on the always. No, whatever. These are the shit we're battling on, So that stuff changed everything for me. And that one just came out, that little shadow doodad, like 2 months ago. They've got new stuff coming. It's just, the scary part is they see me at a workshop doing what I do, and then they'll make the thing for it, which, do I need to get a lawyer? And this is the DDC panel, or whatever the hell. But yeah, okay. One last question, and then we should probably wrap it up. Who's tired?
Here, we have Mitch's question here.
Michelle Stapleton's been.
I have a feeling this might be a long answer here, but we'll see if we can keep it manageable here. How do you choose?
One on sentence for 2.5 hours.
How do you choose a merch idea to tackle from your list of ideas? I have so many ideas for merch to create that I have a hard time choosing one when I actually sit down to work. Make sense? Kind of overwhelmed by all the possibilities.
I lay down in the backyard. Lee coats me buck naked with honey, ants, climb over my mass and bite. And in that hallucinating, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I do. It comes down to like, is it going to be cool? Does the world need this? And sometimes with that answer, it's like, that's the funnest shit to make, But I do go through a little bit of a process of like, is it easy to produce? Is there longevity to not only make like a patch, but make a patch, hat, t-shirt, something, sticker? The scary part is when I make one patch, like, I made this little pin, little tree pin, thick line tree. Then someone goes up and they go, oh, this is great. How come there's no patch? So I gotta make the patch. But then they walk up to the patch and they go, oh, the patch is pretty cool. What, no pin? So what I've learned, we're not there to make friends, okay? We're there to make some cash and never go back. So what I've learned is before I get all excited and just let this one go, to have kind of the line, and that means 5 pieces. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's a test just to say, you know, is there something to this? Like, you know, here's the deal. And I mean, I do a lot of work for the trans community. I do a lot of work for LGBTQ. I did the pride signs for Traverse City, Michigan, and I'm just going to tell you right now, there are some dipshits up there. Backwards as the day is long. And guess what? Love wins, even in Traverse City, Michigan. And, you know, when I do this stuff for my friends back there and they're empowered to go and make their lives better with my dumb little graphic, I am so proud in my hometown. I've never talked about it, maybe a little bit, but that's true. Because I don't want my mom to get ugly comments, because that's where they're at in dumbass Michigan. Fine. But this, what's really interesting to me, my buddies who are as gay as the day is long, man, bam, they're all over it. But my buddies who are 6-year-olds, my little nephew was like, I like rainbows too, Uncle Lonnie. You know, is it okay to like rainbows? Like my little Oliver was like, yeah, man, rainbows are amazing. You know what they're from? You know, there's leprechauns at the end of it and all this kind of shit. And by the, you know, we go nuts. He's 10 now. I like things that anyone could walk up to and take it and get weird with it. You know, like someone might look at this and be like, I see something weird with that, you know, or even that. Like I had a little girl come up. I have this, I don't have it with me. I have a heart patch and it's got thick lines heart. And she walked up and the way the patches were sitting all, because roving bands of 12-year-olds kicked the shit out of us at these merch tables. Roving bands of feral 12-year-olds. Michaela, McKinney, and Riley. Should I like this one? Do you think of this one? Haley, Riley, Maylee. And okay. And they trashed the merch table. And this little girl comes up and the little heart, the way the heart was sitting, it's an L. And she goes, I'm an L too. And I just said, Lydia, you could have the patch, you know, whatever it was. Like the multiple interpretation of stuff is really weird, you know. So, you know, there's also testing to make sure that it's not any bit, you know, I might sound woke here, sorry, and I'm trying, but to make sure it's not stepping on anyone's toes professionally, culturally, you know, in all seriousness. If something gets a little weird, you want to make sure you're right. You know, you might have a colorway that's going to be weird or something, you know. I mean, frankly, I love all this like stars and bars shit. I hope I don't sound like an asshole saying that, but like, I'm going to get chewed up for showing that stuff. And it's not some kind of like MAGA shit, not even close. It's the idea that like America's a melting pot and people escape persecution to come here, you know, and make it better for everyone, not just those who can afford it. So I get in trouble for this shit. And I just, you know, it means something different to me that doesn't mean what my aunt saying, they can all go back home to whatever. And I had to say to her, you're from Poland, stupid. I mean, you understand this. Are you going back to Poland? It's only 97 years ago, you know, whatever the hell, you know, listen, stupid is stupid, but it's like some of these things are too easy to go, you know, jump on, and that sucks. Now, listen, when I make something like this, it's just a Black Sabbath, you know, like, you know, I like tripped out black magic and, you know, potions and wizards and shit, you know, I don't know what the hell, orcs, and, you know, I use purple. That's tricky enough, but yeah, you know, Lee, you know, like how stupid wiener dog. I sell so much of this shit. I sell so much. That's the king of the breeds. All dogs now. All dogs policy. Because after Gary died, I'm pissed. Now I look at dogs. I'm ashamed to say this, but some dogs, when people don't hear it, I go, you'd be glad you can walk, dog. We have an ugly interaction because I'm pissed because Gary's little back went out, and you know the story, whatever. And now when people come up and they're happy, hope no one here has a what do you call it? Golden retriever named Marley, probably, sorry. But if they walk up to me with their Marley dog and they're like, and I go, well, that's a beautiful dog named Sadie. Imagine that. Oh, you know, she descended from dachshunds. I'll just walk away And they're, no, they didn't. Oh yeah, look it up. Science, king of the breeds. They got furrier, just stupid shit like that. So, okay. I like the idea that there's something to talk about too, So when I made these little human stickers I've been playing with, I have been marveling at this thing called Fermi's paradox. And is anyone, you guys familiar? And the idea that, oh, yeah, Jake, take a big bong rip off of this, Making Midwest, fire up that purple triple chamber 6-foot, Vojasi, go get it out of the closet. You're late. You got on the other side of the room, she's got to pull the carb or whatever they call it, the rehubulator or whatever the hell. You pack that Columbus nug in there. I don't smoke, so I don't know. But, right, people always say, well, if there's aliens, how come they haven't contacted us on this shit? Because the Fermi's paradox is, we might be in a stage of evolution where we're not the last thing, and we might, based on the next time I click on, CNN or Fox News or whatever the hell, that we might be towards the end of our run. But on the other side of the galaxy, some little something might be just still crawling around in the muck. And by the time it could even get here, across the legions of space and across the magic of how far it is, it couldn't even get here. It'd be a different species by the time it gets here. The idea that something's starting and stopping, or just starting, the other, that's amazing to me. And this was just about 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, and diversity, and how we need to be acceptant of that. There's different things, and there's a story there, that there can be all sorts of different things. And it's just like, I don't know, I like to talk about these things and not just land on one thing, because I think in a couple million years, there'll be something different. And that connects all the way back to what I was raised with. My mom and dad saying lots of different little children and all this, whatever. I was raised with this. I'm thankful to have that. So I try to make things that, that mean something too, I mean, I don't know what wiener dog means, but, just the idea of being thankful for whatever you have and trying to do the best with what you have, and being mindful, of things. That's something that might change for someone. I don't know, that sounds a little weird, but that's the truth. I just try to think about these things when I make this stuff. It isn't sometimes just as simple as that's a cool graphic. I get a lot of those guys too, like, how come you don't make more skulls? Fuck, man, I don't know. Sorry. There's enough people making skulls and shit. I'd rather make, I don't even drink. I might drink. I might start, but that's a new patch. Just big old golden buzz. I got a buzz on life, So I don't know if that makes sense, but the online sticker sources, totally cool. Use them. Just understand there's limitations, to get back to answering Amy an hour later, but also with patches, make sure that if you can see it, make sure they're the right kind of crusty, you know what I mean? Like with proper marrow and stuff. There's all this new shit out there that like it's just perfectly smooth and doesn't attack on the same way. I like the crappy ones, the old ones. And a little pro tip of how to find them. And you got to be careful who you're talking to, but if you go to like these guys that make stuff for like fire departments and cops and paramilitary shit, you'll get that bullshit and it'll feel the right kind of feel. But that means when you're handing this stuff off to them, you're going to get some comments of like, what's that rainbow all about? I'll just say, someday you'll get it, fellas, talking to some dipshit somewhere, I don't know, but you got to be careful who you're going after, because sometimes you'll find the gold with the good old boys. And that's a tricky thing too, so yeah, like my hats are made in Cleveland and they're beautiful and they're affordable. And that's what I love about them. I don't want them to be $60. They're $32.99. And Lee did the math the other day. She said, you asshole, $32.99 shipped. That means it's $4 to ship it. We're down to 29. $13 to make it. Now we're down to 16. The Uline, hate that shit. It's $1.25. Now we're down to 15. She kept going and going and going. Turns out I make 17 cents on each purchase, or whatever the hell it is. I don't know, taxes and shit. Who cares? I got a whole wall of awesome hats at a fair price. You know, like with the watch, the watch was 85 bucks. Even that skeeved me out because I didn't want to make the watch 285, 885, 350. I saw the same watch in Berlin for the Carhartt work in process store back in December when it was so hard to be speaking in Berlin, but I was there, you know, walking around, making up words, shits and plots, all sorts of fun words. But, you know, the watch, I saw the same Timex Carhartt watch, 300 euro, 280 or something. And it was just like, that's a $42 watch. What are you doing? At the box, it's 42 bucks. So when I got them for 42 bucks, I made them Keystone, 42.50, 85 bucks. Proud of that. That's not what other people are doing. You know what I mean? Like I think about that. I don't want to make shit that everyone can't get. I don't like that. And if I found out 85 bucks is too much for someone, no one ever sees me giving shit out at the merch table ever. And don't be tweeting that shit. But if some kid comes up to me and he's like, I can't afford this shit, you know, when I see him digging in his wallet, just get over here, you scrub. Get over here. Grab some shit, man. I got you. Because that happens all the time. Kids don't have money for the book or whatever. I gave out so many books, and I turn around and I look at Lee, and she'd just be like, I saw that. Because Lee wants to make cash, you know. So, anything, Melissa? You got anything? Anything? Who's got a question? Anything? Everyone, I'm going after everyone tonight. Questions?
Okay, I plugged it. Can you hear me?
Mitch.
Yep.
Can you hear me this time?
God, you are beautiful.
All right.
How are you, Mitch? Let's talk.
All right, we're jamming my 96 beige plug in here. So hoping that you can hear me through 1996 if we're still coming in. So you can hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome. Yeah. See, the old junk it hangs in there sometimes. But first, this COVID thing is the biggest thing that's got me down. Wasn't able to meet my New Year's resolution of getting my book signed this year.
Oh
Not gonna
man.
happen.
Where do
Yeah.
you live, Mitch?
Cincinnati.
Oh, I spent a week there one night. Yeah,
Oh, dang.
I know Cincinnati. Shake It Records.
Yeah.
Come on.
Take it
Come on.
records, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I'm not weirded out by this COVID. Hey, if you want to come down, I'm quarantined.
Well,
You're quarantined.
I'll
Whatever.
tell you right now, it's going to get weird. Lee and I are driving home in 3 weeks, and we're going to do it as safe as we can because I need to go see my mom. I
Yeah.
haven't seen her all year.
Yeah.
And if you come up to I-80 before the little Gary, Indiana turn, I'll meet you, and you just throw the book across the highway at me. I'll catch it, wipe it under the armpits, and sign it and send it back. But we'll meet at some point. Anyway, what's your question?
Awesome. Just I know we touched on the patches. Can't talk about vendors, but one thing about vendors, I had a question. I know that embroidery machines need a different type of design file. You know, I don't know. It looks like the files have it translates the vectors into some kind of path for how the.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, yeah, right. I see what you're getting. Yeah, right.
So when you hand off the file, do they ask you to have that already?
Hold it close to your mouth.
Handle it. What's that?
I can't hear you.
So do the vendors ask you? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Mitch,
yeah.
can you hold the mic?
I think I have it. Let me see if I have something here. Hold on.
Maybe keyboard was the way.
Okay. I think I got this right. Now, if you can hear me, Mitch, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, because we can't hear you anymore. Is there a kind of file to hand to the vendor? Here's the deal. The answer is I just hand flat files, but to my guy in Portland who does the translating for me, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. I'm gonna try to show it to you. But let me show you what happened when I handed the flat. This is the patch version of my human. Now look at this. When they handed it back to me, they tore apart the design to do it the quickest way in there. Now look it looks like the back is turned to you. See? Because the head, the line that goes across straight, you can see that okay? It looks like it's got his back turned. So what we had to do was we had to say, no. One fluid shape, just one shape. And that feels like the front or whatever. But here's the deal. That's why there's, number 1 and then number 2, because we had to go through a couple steps to get it right. And it might be color too. But if I got your question right, I don't know if there's necessarily a file. What to be more mindful of is how your file is flattened. If you have parts and pieces and it turns out the file that I gave them, it was a line with the circle not attached. See what I mean? It was 2 pieces. And the computer translates the way it translates. This is what I'm talking about. It's like, I made a mistake there. I assumed they would flatten it for me, and that didn't work. So I think the thing to do is like, I know with Sticker Mule and shit, you make a proof and you get to see the proof, and then they just show up. But with a patch run, I have a relationship with a buddy in town here. He won't tell me where he makes them. And it's probably better because he knows I'd go get a better deal. But the relationship is that he watches over me for that stuff. You know what I mean? Like he makes sure that there's a couple steps in the process. We have it budgeted. If I don't use the extra steps, I can use them later on. You know what I mean? Like there's just like, he has it budgeted out because sometimes the patches take 2 and 3 swipes to get it right. There you can see it. They take 2 and 3 swipes to get the colors right. I just did a spectrum patch, and frankly, the green was too close to the light green, was to the turquoise, to the cyan, and we had to pick new colors just to make sure they bounced off each other okay and had enough distance, and that took 3 passes. So he kept saying, Draplin, every time you make a change, it's $55. It was like, yeah, but the last couple we just nailed it. You know what I mean? So that's a relationship. That's a relationship. I give and take, and he gives and takes. And I paid him yesterday for $3,000 worth of patches, which, for me, that's, I don't know how many. That's a couple patches, $1.50 a piece or so. I don't even know what it is. He like, check it out. This was the 3rd one because we had to get the color right to get to that cyan. This was too kind of like robin's egg blue or something. And it just felt weird. We got it right and we nailed it. And then that was the final. And then I made 600 of these or something. And, that kind of thing. So there isn't a specific file. I think it's more of just like calling up the vendor and saying, what's the best thing that you need? And that is a case by case basis. You know what I mean? I've just learned that lesson. Just call and say, Sticker Mule wants it this way. Cool. Because the more that you can keep track of how you played by the rules, if something is screwed up, the more that you can sort of get it, fixed or whatever. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. But all right, we're coming up. We're over time. Okay. How about one last little quick one, then I'll be done. I promise. That's it. Who's got a question? Anyone? Anything? Anything? Something in the comments? Melissa, what you got?
Hey, so obviously you have like a distinctive style. Was there ever a point where maybe before clients were hiring for your style, was there a point where you, I guess, had to explain to a client your style? I don't know if that makes sense, in order to
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
to solve their problem or whatever that they were hiring you for.
Yeah, I think, let me see if I can answer this for you, Melissa. Style's a weird thing because, first of all, it's very personal. But I think the best answer I could have for that, I just try to think of like, sometimes people call me and they're like, just do what you do, Draplin, that kind of shit. And that makes me nervous because then it's going to look like all the junk I always make, and now, frankly, that's what they're hiring me for sometimes. So I have to get there and get kind of an audible from them, like, hey, that's what you want? Okay, but just be warned, there's a lot of stuff out there floating around that looks like, like this, this kind of stuff, whatever. So I'm really transparent about that to say, if that's what you're coming to me for, then awesome, but you're going to see it other places. If they're cool with that, cool. But other times they come to me and they don't even know what I do. I was recommended by someone who does know, but didn't really say he's good for this or he's good for that, right? And I can smell that from a mile away. And I'll handle that a little bit differently. I don't sell myself as Aaron Draplin or whatever that shit is. What I'll do is I'll say, this is what I work most comfortably in. This is what I'm known for, but here's variations on the theme. What I'm trying to do is get them to be comfortable with what could be made for them. Because it's not necessarily always responsible for me to dip it in Aaron Draplin. Now, I'll talk for a second about a buddy who I've met a couple times, John Contino. Now, John Contino, who's impressive as shit, got his book here. I saw his book last summer, I think it was. John has a very distinct thing, but also can make some little tweaks to the point where you're like, you kind of can't tell it's him. And that's good because he got the job done. But even better than that, I said a lady's name before, Dana Tamagotchi. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but do you guys know who she used to do all the chalkboard stuff? Well, when I got to meet her and just thank her and say, listen, I have a lot of people coming to me and flipping out and kids and stuff, and I'm used to it. And my head is gigantic, I know, but I also know how to just be gentle with that shit, and I am still that kid when I am 9 times the size Dana Tamagotchi, okay? But when I was around her, it was like me saying to her, I love what you do. And I'm so thankful, but I need to say something weird to you. And she was like, what? I'm like, I don't like how people are ripping you off. And she was like, she's the gentlest little flower, she's very chill. And she's like, right, certain things I just don't do anymore. And that really bummed me out because she found something so special, made it hers. Everyone jumped on. That's what happens to all this stuff. Good luck out Jessica Hishing Jessica Hish. You know what I'm saying? That girl's lethal. Good luck out doing Gemma O'Brien. Good luck. No, you're not going to do it. Good luck, out doing throw a dart. Anyone, whatever. I don't know, whoever. But I will say why I really like Dana is when you see her work. We were at this shit the other day at this little store on the coast of Oregon, and I saw this butter that she did, some regional butter. It's up here in the Northwest. And I was like, I think that might be her moves. And I went and looked on her shit, and she did the butter. But what was interesting, it was just appropriate enough for this butter and not enough of her that it made it like, that's not easy to do. So that's where you see the skill of like a Dana Tamagotchi, because she's moving and shaking to change quickly to meet the project. And I know I'm going to say something dumb right now. I try to do that. I have to sometimes when I'm working. But people come to me for a certain look and a feel for logos. Listen, me lamenting the Ford Bronco logo or whatever that they made, and I thought they could have done better. I think it got back to their art director already. That's what's scary about this stuff. I said that, and I don't want to hurt the guy, but I will say he could have done a better job. They make a lot of money. Hire me, hire Melissa, hire Devin, hire Jack, hire the right people who could do this shit. Don't just, I'm stuck with it now. If I want some little piece of merch. So I'm really careful about that with people. I know I'm in a really lucky spot to have people come to me and say, do what you do. But I also really clearly understand that's not real life. It's just not real life. The moment they see what I'm capable of, it's just time to make them something that's theirs. And that happens a lot more than me dipping it in Aaron Draplin, because I just don't want, that's not appropriate. Because here's the deal. I have a lot of people ripping me off. blah, blah, blah. And you can just tell. So I have to deal with that. So I know it's going to sound weird, but there's a lot of work that you've never seen come from my hands that you wouldn't know came from my hands because I was getting a paycheck. And there's nothing dirty about that in the least. You know, there's no, it's called taking care of my mom, sister, well, Oliver, fucking Dale, piece of shit back in Michigan. I hate him, but I help him. You know, he needs a little bit of help. Jack, there's a monthly stipend for Jack Robinson. Just, you know, that beautiful head of hair of his, just combing it, and, you know, just caressing it, all the tonic beard oils, hair oils. All right, let's talk about an assignment, and then we're done. We're sick of this shit. Enough. But my favorite tonight was Lori Tompkins, who really kept her act together the whole time. Thank you, Lori. Nice to see you. I've met you a number of times. You're always so gentle and nice. For an assignment, I'll send a little something along as a little reminder to Matt. He'll get that out to you tomorrow or something. But make something that exhibits what we talked about this week. Symmetry, the orbit, mathematical colors, you know, subtraction. It doesn't even have to be done. Maybe it's something new to you where, you know, Chris Jarrett is like, I just went and rebuilt this logo. I did it by subtracting. Here's my assignment. Done. Because that shows me that you went and tried it and got weird with it. And maybe you might have learned something along the way. So, you know, here's the deal. What we showed tonight, I've got 5 other things for next week, of course. But show me something next week. And listen, I'm not taking attendance and shit. You know, if you don't want to show up with something, fine. I hope you had a good time for the 3 hours today, number one. But if you want to make something, Melissa, you make whatever you want. I'm putting you at the top of the heap, and we're going to tear it apart in a loving way next week, and we'll figure it out, and we'll take a look. So make something, share it. If you're not comfortable doing that, you know, people I can't see on here, Emily, Armando, Lydia, Dana, you know, if you don't want to show something or whatever, no sweat. It just comes down to like, let me see what you did, you know? If you want to make something to go, Devin, I'm watching you. I better see something out of you, or I'm coming back. Where are you at? Let me guess. Minnesota? Where are you at there? Where are you at, Devin?
No, I'm actually in Scottsdale, Arizona. So I'm
I was in Scottsdale about back in February, and I went to that In-N-Out burger there, and I kicked the shit out of that place. It was a war of burgers. We don't have that up here. We have one in Salem, and the line goes 2 miles long. But I was in Scottsdale at a little screen printing conference, and it was I didn't even have a chance to go to the record store. I stayed at some really kind of hip place that's got a lot of color with a cool sun logo called the Vagabond or something. Was that right? Beautiful place. And luckily it wasn't hot. But Devin, I want to see something out of you next week. You're the only one I'm giving an assignment to. Annabella, I just like you. You seem so nice. So, all right, you guys, I hope you had a good time. Show up with something next week. Show me what you learned. Try it out. I'll get something to Matt tomorrow. And let's get academic next week. No more Mr. Nice Guy next week. No more bullshit next week. Next week, we're keeping it by the book. I'm going to wear a little suit. I'm going to shave my back, and I'll be there. All right? All right. Brazil?
All right, everyone. All right, Aaron.
Ciao.
See you next week.
Dad, I don't know. I got to get the Portuguese. Let me wait. Google Translate. Watch this. I'm using the technology. Okay. How do you do it? You go from English. God, I'm such a dumbass. I know. No, watch. Wait. Okay, I got to get it into Portuguese. He already knows what it's going to be. That guy speaks better English than I do. But Usu Supai. Usu Supai. Usu Supai. Hey, I'm your dad, Chow. There you are. You're stuck with me. All right, you guys. Good night. Jake, sober up. Jeremy, got a face like a explosion of love. Michelle Stapleton, your older brother Chris, he's a big country star. Nice. Let me show you guys a trick. Let me show you guys a new magic trick. little bit of a delay in the trick, but hey, we're in the pandemic, Annabella, and I got to do what I can do. All right, you guys, good night. We'll see you next week. I hope you come back. And if you don't, I need to do a screen grab. So I can take you guys all to court when someone says he showed us the national cybersecurity 2 months ahead of time. So I could take Jeremy Anderson. I'm in court, my little suit on. Yes, Your Honor. Jeremy Andrus posted it on his Grindr account, and I didn't think it was going to happen. It blew up. So I'm, me all little suit, little Sears big and tall collection, little suit, court ordered. Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.
Thank you.